This is a public service announcement from the Enormocast. The following podcast contains adult language coupled with childish humor. Male and female genitalia may be referenced. We talk about sex, baby. If you take climbing and you're placing it very, very seriously, the role we here at the Enormocast suggests that you skip this one. We will also be taking climbing seriously again on the Enormocast as soon as the next episode. And now, if you're still here and you're ready to laugh, shake your fist, and maybe yell fuck you at whatever speaker is playing this podcast, then welcome to episode 280 of the Enormocast, TAPS 2024, the really Bollocks edition.
You are listening to the Enormocast.
Oh my God, Janice. You know what I like about winter in the mountains? It's puffy weather.
Puffy weather?
That's what I said, puffy weather. You know, the time to cuddle down in your puffy, no matter where or when. But what if your puffy is some sort of overworked, filthy, greasy rag? Like you've been hanging out in front of the fryer at Long John Silver's. That doesn't sound like the kind of puffy for puffy weather.
More like dirtbag puffy weather.
Well, if you need a new puffy, Black Diamond has you covered like glitter on the prom queen.
Literally, covered in puffy.
First, there's the Vision Down Parka. The puffiest puffy for puffy weather ever. Warmer than your dear mother's hug. By the way, call your mother, she misses you.
She gave you life. Call your mother.
Do you want to layer your puffy? Maybe over a sweater? Then look no further than the Approach Down hoodie. Stash it away until it's puffy weather for real.
What about the Access Down hoodie? It's perfect for puffy weather that's on the cusp of sweater weather, but could be puffy weather in an instant. I never leave home without my puffy, honey.
Check out blackdiamondequipment.com or your favorite local shop for the warmest, snuggliest puffies around. Oh my God! Who else loves puffy weather?
Hey folks, you know that favorite local shop that I go on about at the end of my ads? Well, I say that because brick and mortar climbing shops have long been the L5 vertebra and the backbone of climbing culture. And now, Sportiva North America has decided to open an old-fashioned but newfangled retail store in Boulder, Colorado. You've heard of Boulder, right? Quaint little town on the Front Range of the Rockies. By the way, how do you know when a climber is from Boulder? Oh, they'll tell you. Shout out to Rose for that one. Anyway, the new Sportiva store will feature their most popular gear, opportunities to get your grubby hands on discounted equipment, and maybe most importantly, a chance to try on those shoes before you commit. Also, look for coming events as Sportiva gathers the community around climbing's best presenters, writers, and filmmakers. So if you swing through Boulder, and as a climber you know that you eventually should, check out the new Sportiva retail store on 2100 Broadway and see how it holds up against your own favorite local shop.
Listen, where are you playing in town? Are you playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
big
big
house.
place,
Sold
that
it out.
side of town. That's a
Very
big
nice.
place. You sold
What's
it
that,
out.
20,000
I'll say
seats? You really should.
The hell are you doing?
I couldn't sleep. I'm checking the ropes. There was a frayed end on your rope, and I'm cutting it out.
Bad weather. No, later, anytime.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, La Sportiva, and with support from Maxim Ropes. Maxim has been keeping the Enormocast off the deck since 2012.
And don't forget our charter sponsor, Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enormo at checkout for a discount on great coffee and to support the Enormocast.
And now back to the show.
Okay. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. And on today's episode, we are recording 2024 TAPS edition of the Enormocast.
Whoop, whoop.
And my guests are return TAPS aficionados, Mary Harlan.
Hello.
Andy Salo.
Hello.
and Andrew Bishrat, my compadre over at the Runout.
Hi, Chris.
And we've often joked, I think last year we joked that the Runout is actually sort of like Taps every time we put an episode out. So
it's basically like year-round Christmas.
Exactly. So, anyway, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming, you guys. For those of you just tuning in, and I heard from some of you on Instagram of like, what are you talking about, Taps? We're talking about the song, and I'd like to play the song now. Are you ready?
It's a solemn song.
It is a solemn song.
And it's not out of disrespect to the soldiers at
Well,
all.
I want to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Because I've looked into some history, and I want to talk to those guys.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello.
All right, I think you got the wrong.
Whoops. Sorry. Again, no disrespect to the soldiers.
Little Jolson, was that what that one was? Would you fade it out? Can you fade it out?
He's saying fade it out.
Okay, there it goes. Nice. So yes, the song played at the burial and the internment of soldiers. And every year we get a little pushback on that. And I understand the pushback. It's often played in a solemn occasion of soldiers passing away or veterans. In the case of my grandfather, they played it at his funeral. This like ancient little dude blew his heart out almost doing taps at my grandpa's funeral. But I also want to point out, and again, this is not sort of deflection, but I looked into the history of the song because I did get a couple comments along that line, and I was like, well, what else? I mean, it seems like it's used to represent the military all the time, and oftentimes in parody. You know, I've seen like Bugs Bunny play it as like his ship went down and those kind of things. So I looked at it, and actually it was originally and continues to be used for lights out at any military base because they play it every night at any base, any American military base around the world. It gets played at lights out, which was its original purpose. Not long after, it was also played at a funeral in the Civil War. That's where it was originated. So it has both those purposes. And so I would like to kind of maybe in the future we'll couch this thing into putting these ideas to bed. Lights out for these particular ideas versus killing them. However, that message didn't get to the voicemail people, so they talk a lot about killing things. Anyway, that's my statement on taps. If you're offended, write me an email. We can talk about your particular engagement with taps, and I'll take it very seriously. I will take it very seriously.
What's your email?
Chris@enormocast.com.
Okay.
It's everywhere. Yeah. I used to have up until just like literally a few months ago, I had my phone number on the website. And then someone actually really talked me out of having it on there. But I was like, yeah, but our fucking phone numbers used to be in phone books, you guys. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Speaking of something that was tapped.
Yeah.
Like and like anybody younger than, I guess, me and, I mean, did you have phone books?
Oh, yeah. You
search by last name.
I still get phone books in the mail.
Yeah.
Really?
They're small.
Yeah,
they're not big
small,
anymore.
but, yeah.
They used to be everyone. Like you had to go through some rigmarole, I think, to get your name not put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's not like, oh my God, your phone number, don't give it to anybody. I'm like, fucking everybody had everyone's phone number. But the world is a much more dangerous and like scammy place, I think, now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably good. Anyway, and also the theme of this year's show, is that we have a bunch of voicemails from people. I set up an 800 number. And got quite a few calls, actually. I was pleased. I had to beg for women to call, but then they came through in the end.
I think they were scared that it was my sex line. That's why I had several friends that said they're not. I tried to get people to call, and they're like, dude, I'm not calling this number. Like, fuck off. I promise it's just taps. No.
Is phone sex with the internet, is phone sex still a thing?
Yeah, I think there's like that ASMR kind of thing. People are into that.
What is it?
Yeah, the goosebumps you get when you like when you play taps.
Oh, right.
All the acronyms.
It's like
Someone
you
whispers
just,
in your ear.
Yeah, you just so they probably thought that they'd call the taps hotline.
And it would be you.
And I would just soft whisper, for like
dirty things.
Yeah. And then their phone bill, like they'd get a $900 phone bill or something.
I mean, they could have thought...
We should do Taps ASMR edition for paying subscribers.
I was going to say, they could have thought I was going to whisper softly in their ear.
I mean,
To be honest with you, I talked about tapsing the Taps episodes last year, and some people agreed with me. But then, as usual, it was like one. It was like this. I think it was the third biggest downloads for me last year. I mean, it came right up and tickled Sharma, from behind.
Who was number one then?
I think Sharma was, and then Steve House.
Oh,
yeah. So
nice.
the big names come through, but yeah. So I mean, it's still gangbusters. So until you guys stop fucking listening, I'm gonna keep doing it. So it's like anything, It's like everyone hates social media, but until you stop being on social media, it's going to still be there. So I guess I'm like social media. I'm just like...
Or crowds at the crag. It's like, you're the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. So quit crowding taps and I'll put an end to it. But it's funny because people just love bitchiness on the internet. Am I allowed to say, is bitchy out?
It's fine.
Okay, thanks. That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
Our resident ethics correspondent.
Hello.
As the token female in the room whose opinion is only meant to validate us, to make us feel better about our misogynistic statements. Thank you for being here, Mary.
No problem. I will validate all of your secret worries.
Rubber stamp all of our money.
What? There's like a 30-second delay on the recording.
She didn't care. I also probably smell the worst in the room, so it's okay.
Yeah.
That's true.
You've often talked of smells, Mary.
Oh, Dan Gambino.
Yeah, Dan Gambino.
Save it for the ASMR edition. Daisy Chains are canceled.
You like BO? Come talk to me.
The smellophone.
The smellathon.
We'll invent the smellophone just for your sex channel. Has anyone ever invented the smellophone? Sounds really like a good idea. It'll harken back to payphones. Remember payphones? Those were always smellophones. Anyway, so one last little quip before we get into the voicemails and other things. I got messages in all different mediums, but the basic idea of this episode is that it started out really with things that were dying, trends, traditions, and stuff like that we were kind of lamenting, but it quickly turned to stuff we wanted gone, put to bed. And that tends to be what everybody loves, and that's what most of the voicemails were beef that people had with various things in climbing, both men and women. So those are kind of two categories: things we wish wouldn't die, things we wish would die, and then I'm doing it again, the dying part. But and then stuff that the zombie was stuff that like everybody kind of agrees should be gone, should go away. Like we just all can get on board, but it hangs around. Sort of like taps. Actually, taps is a bit of a zombie. So anyway, those are the categories. My favorite is the original, the laments. So let's open up with a lament.
Hi, this is Molly. I'm calling because I heard that not a lot of women had called, and I wanted to represent. And also, I do have a lot of thoughts about various climbing related things, but it was actually hard to choose. But I think the thing that I've been thinking about that I think might be dying, and I'm pretty sad that it's dying, is just sleeping in the dirt. Like just going climbing and sleeping on the ground, or like in a tent, or not in a tent. Yeah, I think a lot of people are sleeping in nicer places than on the ground these days. So maybe like if you're a young climber, you're kind of missing out. Just like leave your sprinter van and for a night at least, and just try it out. Maybe if you're over 30, you get a pass or something. I don't know. Anyway. That's my thought. I think that might be dying. Maybe we should mourn it. Wow, I wonder if this will actually get played. Okay, bye.
It got played, Molly.
Yeah, Molly.
Played. Thanks for coming through. And I had to start to beg for women to call in, Molly. Appreciate it. So what do you think? I mean, clearly it's dying. Clearly it's like...
Wait, I'm confused.
What?
She wants you to sleep in the dirt where the bugs are?
Where the bugs are.
Like where any animal could just like crawl on you?
Yes, and also fecal matter.
That sounds
That's been turned
crazy
into
to me.
dust.
Why would she want you to do that?
Sleeping under the stars, dog.
Oh.
Under the stars where
Yes.
it's cold?
Right.
And
Exactly.
wind could make your face hurt?
Yes.
And the moon could burn you?
Yeah, and the
Somehow?
stars could keep you up with their bright twinkliness.
Fuck those stars.
I think Molly's got a terrible idea there. I'm happy to see it go away.
Really?
No, I'm just being
yeah,
facetious.
I know you are. Because you're a dirtbag. You're a sort of a dirtbag historian or someone who believes in the sanctity of those years you have to put in climbing when you don't have any money.
Totally. I mean, well, sleeping in a tent's like pretty cush. Like, I don't know if you haven't slept in a tent and you're a climber, that seems like an odd mismatch.
Yeah, I mean,
I wonder if there are any climbers who are like call themselves climbers but have literally never slept in a tent.
Outdoor climbers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like are there outdoor climbers who've literally never slept in a tent?
I would imagine there's a lot.
But what about like? I mean, she's saying sleeping in the dirt. So when she said that, I envisioned like sleeping at the base of the cliff or the boulders or something.
Yeah, I think she like equivocated on the tent, but she really means out.
Yeah.
In the dirt.
Like
in the dirt's I think a whole new
thermarest
Right.
in your sleeping bag.
Like by the fire.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a campfire and you're
sleep
like
on a crash pad maybe
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll lament that. Yeah, that's too bad.
I think it's I mean the van life is it's all just tied with that. You know, we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
But I think I like the way she called, like, just go do it. You know, it reminds me of like the Outward Bound solo. You know, they force the kids to go out and like sit by themselves for a couple days or whatever.
Outward Bound student right here.
Did you solo?
Hell yes, I did.
What was it like?
It was pretty awesome. It was, we didn't have much food for like 3.5 days. They just give you like enough to not feel like you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And you have water, you have access to water and you have water with you. And, that was the first time I soloed. And then I did a college program where I went on a solo, which was a little bit more adventurous because I kind of snuck out of my solo site and I was like a ravaged animal. And I like ran across the desert in my underwear for like a couple hours in the sand. and then came back to my solo site and I was like, that was cool. And we didn't have any food on that one.
Wow.
We like completely just fasted and had water.
Wow. So the fasting probably sent you into this like ecstatic state.
I mean, you can either do mushrooms or you can fast.
Yeah, totally.
I also think that sleeping in the dirt's no longer really practical for the way that climbing looks. You know, I mean, if everybody that was hanging out in the buttermilks just like dragged their sleeping bags up to the Grandpa Peabody to chill, you know, like the scene would just...
Have you guys ever slept in a public bathroom? I mean, that's like worse than the dirt. And I've slept in a public bathroom on climbing trips.
God, I don't think I have.
It's just raining, you know, and there's like an outhouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you sleep in the little inside the outhouse. So
Yeah.
Well, if you put the outhouse on its side, it'd be a bit more comfortable.
not a porta potty, like
Like a block toilet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think that's a big part of like the sort of British dole, old dole experience. Because I know my
sleeping
friend
under the
Alan
base of
Carn
Ravenstor.
has told me that they would go and just sleep in the public bathrooms. And I think Paul Pritchard actually said something about that as well. Just like that's where you lived. It wasn't like you did it once. You basically like, everybody stay the fuck out of my house. 'Cause this is where I live now. Like rats infesting it. Yeah. So, I think it's more of a lament of again, this removal of some of these like basic traditions that we had about what it meant to go out and be like a full-time climber. And the van is kind of like changed it all so much, which we've remarked on many times.
Well, all of these things were born of the fact that everyone drove cars that weren't big enough for you to sleep in them. And all of your stuff would fit in it, and you would fit in it, and maybe your partner would fit in it, and that was it. And you couldn't like sleep in your car because it was a tiny little sedan or something.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's just not the case. And so it's like, yeah, I'm trying to put myself in the position of having the luxury of having always driven a big car or even a truck or something, you know, that you could like literally just never have put your, you know, head down in the dirt and slept while, you know, in a climbing situation or context. And I can see how that could be possible now. So, but I just can't imagine it.
Yeah, I mean, and she did give a little like caveat for the old people. She said over 30.
I was like, don't you mean over?
It's just like those poor
maybe
people.
Maybe can we go like over 40 or something?
They're all just emaciated.
If you think about it, nowadays, if you slept on the dirt as opposed to in your van, you'd wake up to probably exhaust from the person
in the van
heating up their van in the morning.
You just get run over by all the vans. You slept in the dirt.
That's not completely out of the question. Yeah. You got to be careful where you fucking put your sleeping bag.
It's too dangerous now to sleep in the dirt.
How high
you
is
just get run over?
Is Joe Kinder when he's driving his 4-wheel drive fucking Sprinter? I mean, he's way up there.
Yeah.
Or all these idiots with the giant trucks that you know, you can't see like the 30 feet in front of your hood because your truck is like 6.5 feet tall on the front end.
You just get scooped up like
so
Max
actually, Molly, fuck off. Like everybody should be in some sort of, you know, strength environment. Yeah. So they don't get run over.
You could put like a snow a snowplow on the front and like plow the people sleeping on the ground up as you drive away.
Well, I mean, there's one last thing to say about this. We'll move on, but Camp 4 is still Camp 4, right? So if you've climbed in Yosemite and stayed in Camp 4, then you've at least had to put a tent up. Mm-hmm. And I remember crashing all the time in there because you would pretend to have a site and just go throw your sleeping bag down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean that's you got to get out of your van.
You need to be like really well connected and rich to get a spot in Camp 4.
Yeah, you have to like get joined.
I mean, you might as well have
you just
a van.
Nominally put your tent there just to say you've slept there, but then you go sleep in your van, or go to the Awani.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember all the shenanigans
so you can
we used
connect
to go
to internet and like update your portfolio,
update your Instagram.
I mean, I remember all the shenanigans we used to go through to try to sleep in our rigs. And that must be bonkers now because everybody's so attached to their kit inside of their vans. Like the idea of leaving it behind. I'm like that now too, though, because I was going to say that as I got older, the thought of sleeping in a tent did seem a little barbaric, actually.
No, you just start getting. Your back is fucked.
I know. And I remember when I first got my RV, the original mobile studio, the little dolphin type thing, and the first few times I camped in Indian Creek. And I was just like, yeah, this is fucking amazing, you know? Like stuffing like 11 people in there and you're like, it's snowing outside or whatever. And you just like on the window and look out there and stuff and just see these poor assholes like trying to stay warm by like a dwindling fire that's like being put out by the snow. And then the other thing is like everybody would be in your rig and then you have this joy of kicking them all out.
That's
end of
actually
the night.
one of the most...
Time to go.
Just get the fuck out. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like one of the most
your
fun
girlfriends
things.
can stay, but the rest of you got to go.
It's like one of the most fun things about having
Can
a
you
van.
understand that?
I'm down with it.
Okay.
I'm so down with it. It's all good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's one of the most fun things about actually having a van is that you could have like all the people and like play cards and laugh and joke around. And it's like all these people, like you're having a party in your place. Whereas, like, you know, if you're sleeping in the dirt, you're just kind of like groveling in the dirt.
Yeah, but you can play games in the dirt.
Yeah, you can play tic-tac-toe.
What kind of games?
These vans are like big metal. These vans are like big metal wombs with little baby climbers inside that are being nourished by them, and they can't stray too far because their umbilical cord will pull them back.
Would that make like the sliding door of the birth canal?
Yeah.
Like every morning They're these like little slimy
babies. Goo
Come on.
gaga, climbing day.
So I have to like
Protein
hip check
shakes.
my protein shakes,
shakes.
no beer.
I've got my Vitamix running off my battery here.
All right, next.
That's pretty funny.
This one dovetails with one that Andrew brought up. So,
Hey guys, Jesse here. Not so much of a beef, more of pouring one out for something we're losing, and that is independently run climbing gyms, as they struggle to keep up with the chains that are popping up everywhere. Those of us who grew up in the 90s in that first wave of climbing gyms know that the independently run climbing gyms, the local mom and pop businesses, were the culture carriers of the sport, and they were unique and quirky and locally inspired. And I think it's harder for those things to occur when gyms are franchised and chains. So nothing we can do to fight against it. However, I'm curious to know what you guys think about what we can do to make sure that these larger gyms continue to carry the culture of climbing and don't lose that community spirit that we all have grown to love about climbing gyms. And new hold, big budgets for new holds is awesome. That's great. Don't need all the yoga studios and spin studios, but there's not all bad things about new and larger climbing gyms, but we got to be careful about what can be lost. Thanks, guys.
That's an interesting topic. I think it's super. There's lots of directions you could go with that. I mean, obviously, as a proud anti-capitalist, not really, but my initial instinct is to kind of be like, boo, big monopolies taking over climbing. Bleh. But I mean, here in our own town, of Carbondale, we just lost the one gym that we had because very blah 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 whatever money issues. And you would imagine that like a conglomerate like one of these big mega gyms would be able to have like the money making enterprise in some place and then be able to branch out into satellite spots in more smaller but kind of rich climbing areas like Carbondale, where there's not a huge population, but they could sustain the kind of, or at least float the month to month when people aren't paying the bills or whatever it is. So I could see if like basically I'd be a big fan of like McGyms if there was opportunities like that for small towns where they could bring in that their kind of their gym model and have their tentacles in all parts of the country instead of just in like urban areas.
In the money markets. Well, it's the sort of thing that everybody like wrinkles their nose when outside money comes in to climbing. It's like what we hate. It's like, oh, because I mean, no gym is going to want to put a risky business into Carbondale unless, like you said, they're very, community motivated. And like these big gyms have to answer to their shareholders and their profit reports and all this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So they would never do that. So I'm against it, the McGyms. But it seems like a trend that's not going anywhere. Like they just keep multiplying and snatching up gyms and crowding out local gyms. So as far his question was sort of, what do we do about that, or how do we kind of push these big gyms to be more community involved? And I don't really know. I mean, I think that it's like, if you can't beat them, join them. So, I mean, as long as the employee, people are putting pressure on the employees to do cool classes or to do, local outreach programs or, trail days or whatever, it's about the best you're going to get, I think.
What about civil disobedience? Like always wearing your shoes into the bathroom.
Or just
as opposed to never.
Like
You're
before
just like,
you even check
I'm
in,
getting
swipe your
piss
card
all over these
yeah.
holes.
Yeah,
that's what this McJim doesn't know is I'm getting urine on all the holes right now.
Are there any like efforts to unionize? Like among
I just saw some article pop up recently.
Have. Yeah, the workers have definitely tried to unionize and unionize. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing is that we cause it because it's like only these mega gyms can blow our minds with these giant facilities. And you and I, like a couple of years ago, went to that giant facility in Aurora or wherever the fuck it was in Denver. And we were like, holy shit. Like, this is the sickest crag in Colorado. Like, here we are, you know? And so it's like we get drawn in, but nobody, they're in their own arms race that they've created and we've caused because I was just talking to it was actually Michael Logan via his dad, Jamie. And she was saying that, like, gyms have about a 15-year lifespan now.
Yeah. Before they're just not cool anymore.
And they just can't hang because everything is so old and run down and or not up to the latest technology. And like, when you talk about crushing like mom and pop gyms.
Yeah, if you were looking at opening a gym, that's one of the things you would look at is can I get out of the red into the black and make a profit before my gym's not cool anymore in 12 years.
Right.
You know? So
This is really interesting, actually. So the one thing I was thinking about is, on one hand, with the gyms, it's like sometimes I think about Starbucks, where I'm like, well, you can't blame a guy that had a good idea and it became enormous. So on one hand, like, kudos to Starbucks starter guy, because he had a good idea and it made it. And the one thing that I'm experiencing in Carbondale with the Monkey House closing is we have like a little climbing club. And the thing about and I'm probably going to get in trouble for mentioning this, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I really actually miss the community of all the people that I love, the people that I'm like, all the people that go to the climbing gym that you're like, you see, and you're like, you've got like an interaction with all of them, and some of them are your best friends and some not. And I miss that.
I think that's what he's alluding to for sure.
I miss that about the Monkey House.
But can't you get that at like a big McGym?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that, okay, we have the little climbing club. Maybe. And now I'm like, I'm not.
Want all the randos too.
I want the randos too, and like
some people that are maybe a little less fucking aggro,
right? Like just the whoever's that like to come in and climb, the V0s that are like really cool people, and you just like hanging out with them. And so I miss that. And then I'm like at once I'm like angry, and then also really grateful that I go to this gym, this quote unquote gym, but I wouldn't be opposed to movement or momentum or one of the M1s coming into our town and like sweeping up some space that's empty, because we do have plenty of empty spaces right now in Carbondale, and like creating something for the whole community, as opposed to like now we all kind of climb like, oh, I go to my buddy's gym or I built a gym in my house or whatever.
Totally. No, that whole feeling of us all scurrying to our
we're like rats.
Layers, yeah.
We've all
I prefer to be a prairie dog. If you don't mind.
You're a rat. You're like the rest of us.
Just like, just popped out of my little hole. And then went back in. But
there's a little moonboard light next to you, hole with it. Smack you on the head and it goes out.
Which have you guys ever been like a sort of regular attendee or member of one of these great big gyms? Because that's one of the things is we're over here in the desert like talking about. You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grand Valley Climbing Gym. I belong there.
Yeah, well.
For a while.
I mean, like the thing, this Delaney Miller wrote a piece for climbing.com about how gyms have lost their souls or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I thought that article was unconvincing, because I'm like, what are you even talking about? I can kind of see where this question comes from and what people like Delaney are getting at, because you always are nostalgic for things in the past, even though in reality they're just shittier and worse, And I think that that's a little bit about what's going on here, because like, who cares what it's called? Who cares if it's all owned by one dude? As long as it's like a sick gym that you can climb in and, you know, train in. I think that's all people want, and that's all they care about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care that, you know, there isn't like some rando, you know, gym owner with like one leg and like missing teeth who like sits on the couch and sprays about like, you know, being on Cerro Torre in 1965. And
you're talking about Fabrizio?
Whoever it is. I'm just like making up a character, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what people think is like missing from like the sterile environment of modern gyms, is like these kinds of.
No, I think people are missing the fact that, you know, you got to knock, you protected yourself from COVID if you worked in a 1990s climbing gym. I mean, that's the reason I didn't get it. I just go behind the wall. I'm immune to everything. You know, you could take your climbing shoes in to the bathroom, Chris, and walk all over the climbing holds, and I could lick them. I'm not going to get anything.
I not only would lick them, I'd suck them. Okay,
doesn't matter. I think that he does have a point, though. Of the I mean, I don't go to these big gyms often enough to know, but it would seem what your caller is saying is that what's missing now is that you can't go into a gym and have it feel like the sense of family or belonging is missing. You know, and you're saying, oh, people just want to go train. And while that may be true, I think he's true in saying that there's a missing element now to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people want to go, like I would go to the climbing gym as a teenager after school just to hang out.
Right.
Like I'd be resting or whatever. Just, I know so-and-so's going down there. I'm going to go kick it with them. You know, maybe we'll like go get a bite, but like we're going to meet up at the climbing gym, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's definitely like kind of going away, I think. Like people now,
they need to just get couches.
They need more couches. I agree.
Dirty couches.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
We need more couches.
I'm putting my feet up on those couches.
Yeah.
And then that way the person sleeping in the dirt can now go on that couch.
Right.
They need a spot for kids to smoke weed out back. And they need dirty couches.
Yeah, I learned how to drive in the snow at the parking lot of our gym. You know, we would just tear around, like driving, ripping donuts and stuff. Yeah. I mean, you would get kicked out for doing that now. But anyway. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Bring back the local shop.
It's just, he had a point though. He did say that there's nothing we can kind of do about it other than to somehow, I mean, it's just the profit thing. It's like, I think the margins are small, and, you know, this idea that, you know, I was thinking it was kind of like a old record company idea, which has also changed in the record business. But it was like, you have these huge, multi-million dollar selling acts. That means you can spend money on these up and coming acts. And that's actually gone away a lot in the record business as well. And that's kind of what you're saying. Like, well, we can go and take a chance in this place.
What the fuck is a record business? What
exactly.
are you talking about?
The recording industry.
Oh, that's different. The record,
I'm thinking like turntables and records.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Music.
Sorry, music business. Sorry, music business. Yeah, that was dating me.
The VHS tape industry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could just bring that back. We'd be fine. I mean,
have any of you motherfuckers ever rewound? When was the last time you rewound something?
I'm saying that today. I mean, honestly, if you're not watching fucking
here.
Masters of Stone with some fucking like shit on the screen where you can't see
the VCR,
and trying to hit the VCR, then what are you even doing? All the videos are too clear now. That's what I want to say. You had to fight to see Dan Osmond back in the day. And if you rewound it like 100 times, the fucking thing was fucked.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to return it to like Blockbuster Video, and it's fucked. And you're like, no, I didn't do it. I got it like this. There's something wrong.
Be kind, rewind, yo. All right. Well, let's lament something else here. This apparently came in from a recent guest on the Enormocast.
Hey, Chris. This is Bert, man. Listen, just wanted to follow up on a couple of things from our podcast, okay? There was like a lot of stuff we talked about, and I don't know, man. You know, climbers these days love them to death, and because they buy a lot of shoes from me, because I'm a shoe rep, love them to death, but, you know, they just no one knows how to adventure. You know, it's all about ground up stuff. And I just did everything ground up, you know, the way I was taught, and, you know, love climbers to death these days, but they're lost, man. I mean, Lynn Hill was cool, you know, what she did was cool and everything. Love her to death, but, you know, they bolted a bunch of stuff on El Cap and they put bolts in the wall, and like, you know, we didn't bolt anything on the mirror wall. I mean, we didn't add any bolts, but we put bolts in. There's a difference between putting bolts in and adding bolts, man. And I just wanted to, you know, straighten that out. And, you know, Todd Skinner and Alan Watts, you know, they were cheaters, man. They were cheating. And you can't work roots, but, you know, you can, you know, work them out on top rope. But it's not working them out on top rope, you know. So just saying, you know. And for rifle, you're welcome.
So apparently Bert there had been drinking or something. He said he'd been on my podcast, but I don't remember having
I don't
Bert
remember
on.
Bert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better go back through the archives and see
which Bert I had on the show.
Bert Myth.
Bert Myth. However, within that, I don't know where that guy came from, but within that particular voicemail was this idea that we could talk about like the past being more rad, more adventurous, more like everybody was sort of more sick years ago. And this is like, I mean, this plays on like, you know, it's like what we're dealing with right now with fucking MAGA, you know, like, oh, America used to be this or used to be that. So are we like dealing in mythology here, or what's going on with this idea that
trad climbers are MAGA? Same.
Yeah,
same.
Yeah.
Pretty much if you're a trad climber, you
feel
support
like this
Trump.
comes up every fucking time. Like it's what you know, let me fit. Dude,
I'm just laughing.
We've talked about this. I don't know if it was, you know, on a taps, but like the people that like the, you know, the 5'9" crack climbers, like, oh, he might, you know, win a World Cup in like onsite 14A sport, but like put him on a 5'10" crack and see how he does. That whole idea.
I don't know if that's the same.
Well,
it kind of is though, right? I mean, you got Bert Smith being like
Bert Myth.
Bert Myth. Saying how, you know, like, yeah, like put any of these, I don't know. I'd love to see these young kids, you know, give them the equipment that the old timers have that are beating this drum about how awesome they were. Give them the tools, give them the equipment, and see what they could do. Maybe it remains to be seen, but I think they'd have like, Connor Herson would have like no problem doing some of this shit in those same style and the same, you know.
I mean, didn't you just have comp climbers on that like sent the frickin' nose? Come on, man.
Weird.
I mean, I'm not totally disagreeing. I'm on the fence about this because I do think that some pretty hard climbs, there's a route in El Dorado Canyon, Supremacy Crack, and that's like a 512 back in whatever day. I mean, I think it was like one of the first established 512 cracks in the country. And these guys were doing it in their climbing shoes that were practically mountaineering boots. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, if we give people the tools that we have now, like the comp climbers and the sport climbers and whoever else, they probably will send. I mean, I think we've had plenty of examples of that.
Put them in a pair of EBs, give them some hexes, and I kind of think they'll be fine.
Maybe, but that's the thing. I don't know.
The issue.
I actually don't know if that's the case. I think if we give them the modern equipment, it's going to be like, yeah, okay, you know, Indian Creek's practically sport climbing now. But if we gave them the equipment from the time that those routes were put up, I think it would feel like really hard. I think it would feel hard.
My thought on the thing is not whether they could or if they're stronger or just as good at climbers. I just think the world has changed too much. And, you know, even Mountain Project, guidebooks, all the information at your fingertips. I mean, we've talked on this show to this, you know, talking about how when you traveled, and even 30 years ago, you didn't know anything. You just left and you
So
went.
your
And I just
argument-
don't think, my argument is that
More adventure equals more rad.
no, my argument is that it was harder and therefore more suffering and therefore more bold to be a climber when there was no information and you had to step up and do things without the information.
And the equipment sucked.
And maybe there's like climbers that are these Luddites that are doing that, but most of us...
You think the zeitgeist is shifted.
The zeitgeist is shit. Most of us are not going to eschew the information. Be like, don't tell me about where I'm going. I just want to get off the plane and not know where I am.
Yeah.
And, we talk like Hayden Kennedy, our friend Hayden, like he actively did fight against that. Like he used to send postcards way into the internet age, which we all have a couple, or many of us have some, and they're like these relics because they would arrive at our houses after he got home. Like that's what it was like. But he tried to hold on to this idea of like disappearing, and the fact that like you can no longer disappear isn't a hit on people who don't shut off their phone, but it's more like the opportunity is there, and so people are going to use it. And I just think that like just the fact that you couldn't do that means that those guys and girls were like more rad. I mean, if you were doing the 5th, 6th, 7th ascent of the nose, did you have beta like that was useful? I mean, now you could. Are you just gonna like? Are you literally gonna be a person who's like, I'm going to climb the nose and I'm going into this like information cave for the next 6 months. I'm not going to look up any information. That would be sort of the equivalent. So I just think like, it's not that people are less rad. It's just they don't have the opportunities to sort of like go into the unknown just don't exist anymore unless you actively like turn off your phone and turn off the internet and like make this point of it. I mean, Gary Neptune used to do that, right? He used to climb in all this old shit.
Well,
yeah, Gary
people
Neptune
still do. Like there's dudes who climb in Swami belts still and shit like that.
Right.
But
that's I guess I mean, so I'm sort of like I don't know where to go at the argument, but
well, it sounds like you're equating the ability to get lost, like because the 5th or 6th or 7th ascent of the nose, what about freeing it in a day? Like, how does that factor in? Like, sure, there's more information, but would you argue that the 5th ascent of the nose is more rad than the free ascent of the nose?
I mean, how does soloing the nose
the 5th free ascent of the nose isn't as rad as the first free ascent of the nose.
Duh.
Right.
But
there's no more noses.
Yeah. We're out of noses.
It's partially like a supply and demand problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but every once in a while it pops up, like, Sonny Trotter and going up and, doing those things like the Pineapple Express and stuff. And
okay, what about like Bronwyn Hodges and her expeditions?
Those are throwbacks.
To me, that's like, she's still doing that. Like she and her comrades, whoever they may be at that time, like they're still going out and doing that.
There's a big ass butt.
Well, and the big ass butt is that they have internet, they have all this access to information, and they have modern climbing
and they should
equipment.
not use it.
Yeah,
but when there's no possibility, when you're Charlie Porter on a fucking sailboat, or you're Charlie Porter going into Baffin, like you're going in completely fucking blind and with no safety net.
Yeah.
And again, like I think it's stupid if you go to Baffin in 2024 without a satellite phone and a safety net. You're a fucking idiot. And that's the problem, is because you have the choice. I don't know. So
so the thing
that's my thing.
My irksome thing is that the idea that the way that it was done in the past was better, infinitely better in every regard. Because I don't buy that. Like,
you think Bert believes that?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's certain things. Things were done a certain way that were contrived.
Right.
There's no question.
Yeah.
That were less efficient for sure. But like, I can't sit here and listen to somebody. Oh, it was better back then. Why? Well, it just was. That's not. Go ahead.
All right. One last thing, because Andrew hasn't piped in here, is like I don't think that Bert
with a B.
Bert was saying that ground up was better, because he even, Bert, I mean, I don't know too much about Bert's climbing career, but I believe he threw that out the window. I think it's more, and with guys like him and myself who looks back at the history, is just, again, this like openness. Like I'm trying to get Jim Erickson on the podcast. I just need to get down there and talk to Jim, right? And I just always think about like what was it like to walk into El Dorado Canyon and look around and realize that there was like 6 routes, and all of a sudden you're just like, whoa. And so it's not a diss on modern climbers. It's just like it's really hard to have that experience.
No, I fully agree with.
And that experience in Yosemite was the same way. I mean, to be like, yeah, these things haven't, like, look at that wall, it hasn't been climbed. And to lament a little bit that, like, I mean, the boldness thing too, I think it's lost in America.
I think the ratio's down.
Right.
I think there's plenty of bold climbers, but I think the ratio of bold climbers to, average climbers is like watered down than what it used to be. Because I will fully admit that, and grant you that risk used to be such an intrinsic part of climbing.
Right.
No question.
Right.
And that is gone for the majority of climbers for sure.
I mean, that's why we revere this whole gritstone thing that still seems to hold it.
Yeah, it's a whole,
and you know why they hold it is because there's this fucking rule against putting bolts in. And that's the thing that Bert, is that like you wanted to put a bolt in,
right?
But you knew that it was sort of against the rules and you would get hell, and so there was this help, this like push to keep you going, and now it becomes just a total personal choice because in fact, not only is no one going to diss you for putting the bolt in, they're going to diss you now for not putting the bolt in because now your route is dangerous and it's going to get somebody killed, and they're going to go up there and they're going to, and you need to responsibly, blah. It's like, so I think he has a total point.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody saying that back then.
There's no push.
Right.
Yeah. I just think that, like,
yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew. You've been holding your tongue.
Well, I've got a few things to say. I guess my middle way here is that I think old climbers are generally just really annoying about this, and it's because
I love you to death.
They're old and they've got
Andrew.
nothing else left in their lives and nothing to look forward to, and everything's in the past, and that's that, and they have a grievance about how nobody respects them or even knows who they are. And I think young climbers are also annoying because they lack perspective. They don't realize the degree to which they are standing on the shoulders of those that came before them. They take for granted all the routes that were developed and these perfect crags that were set up, and that they think that it's always been that way, and they have no perspective. I think also that I find it interesting to compare the past to the present and then kind of lament the present in that context. But there's also another way to look at it, which is to compare the present to the future. And you can do that and say, by today's standards, like everything has been done and nothing is left. But by 50 years from now, people might look back to this very moment and say, oh my God, there was so much left to do. Mm-hmm. And the climbing was like, had X, Y, and Z, all the things that we like about it now. And so, I mean, basically the number of unclimbed new routes is as great as it will ever be in our lifetime today. And that's not going to be true tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And it'll be less true a year from now. So so if you look at it from that present to future paradigm, then it's like,
I agree with every point you have. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the older generation. Like, I would go toe to toe on anybody on a history trivia, like I immerse myself in it. But I do think that as this goes outside of just climbing, but I think we have a tendency to just paint over the past with like nice broad strokes and just make it seem like everything was so good and so cool. And like, I don't know. I just don't think that that's how it really was,
Well, and it's also like, that's like the young generation's God-given right is to take the piss out of the older generation and to just make fun of them for what they did. And it's just the way it is. And it's always the way it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And when you're young and you are that person who's just like scoffing at like the old guard, then you feel it's an amazing thing to experience and everyone should have that experience. So I don't deny them that, but you should also realize that one day you're going to be old too. And you're going to, all of the, your heroes and the things that are important to you aren't going to be respected or talked about or valued anymore. And then you're just going to fucking die, and that's going to be it.
Well, this kind of
but
makes
not on one of your wimpy climbs that has too much per.
Yeah, I'm not going to fall. Yeah, I'm not going to die in a rock climb anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think of like two different perspectives. One is like Fred Becky. Like it makes me think of Fred Becky because
who
exactly. Exactly.
The dirtbag.
Exactly. The dirtbag. And I just kind of feel like on one hand, if I said the name Fred Becky into a crowd of people at Rifle, they'd be like, who are you talking about? And yet, like, he was one of the most prolific climbers of his time, like, put up so many countless routes, and so for me, I think of him and I think of the routes that I've climbed that he's put up. And I'm like, wow, this is like pretty intense. I mean, he did this at a time when, there wasn't the kind of equipment we have and was potentially considered even a rebel. And I think that was one thing that I had like said in that text message to you, Andy, about, that older generation was also considered rebels. And
counterculture.
Yeah, it was like very counterculture and fringe to be a climber. And I feel like Fred Becky in his heyday was like definitely considered that. And then now with like the advent of modern news and modern ways of communicating, it's not as fringe anymore. So I think also just that access to information changes the way that climbing is viewed and the way that climbing evolves, from here forward, as opposed to back then when, Fred was putting up routes and sleeping in bathrooms.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off what you said, right? Today is as fringe as climbing will ever be again.
Yeah, I just had a dark vision of like 50 years from now when trad climber is redefined to just mean like someone who sleeps in the dirt and like does like weird larky things like cosplays and like dirty clothes and like
all trad climbers will be just a cosplay thing because it'll be
calls into the TAPS ASMR hotline.
Everything will be bolted so that you'll actually have to cosplay trad.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like wearing like Mennonite clothing and like
they kind of
carrying hexes around, but you have no idea what the hexes are used for.
You'll be like, look at all these cordelets.
They're hanging down to my knees. Can't you tell?
I got cordelets on top of cordelets.
You use Bert Smith's underwear as a handkerchief.
Burt Myth.
Burt Myth. Burt Myth.
Well, this might fit into that. Let's do one here.
Hi, my name is Ian from Pennsylvania, calling in with a trend that I think should die. It's a hot take, I know that, but I think gym to crag clinics should die. Let the gym climbers stay in the gym. Let the people that want to climb outside. We don't need to crossbreed. Keep them where they belong. Peace out.
No crossbreeding here.
Eugenics. A little bit of eugenics in there. Don't be like poisoning the blood of outdoor climbers.
Thanks, David Duke.
Exactly, Steven. What's looking Trumpy's guy? Steven.
Yeah, Steve Bannon.
No, the bald guy that looks like Voldemort.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
fuck that guy.
Steven something or other.
God.
Miller? Steve
Miller?
Miller, yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think of this whole Jim to Crag thing?
It does feel forced. I mean, a little bit, right? Like, it's true. There's plenty of people that go outside and they're like, "This isn't for me." I live in the city. I go to the gym. That's it. So why are we getting dragged outside where it's buggy and there's bugs in my sleeping bag?
Well, first of all, gyms have like completely not proven themselves to be responsible enough to teach people how to climb.
Let's start there.
They're calling backstepping rope behind your leg.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. They don't know what they're talking about, and they shouldn't be teaching people.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be teaching people because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I think at some point in the early days of gyms, they did know what they were doing and they were teaching correctly. Like I'm talking like in the 90s. And then like fast forward to now, and it almost seems like the people teaching Jim DeCraig have also never climbed outside.
No, they took the Jim DeCraig at the other gym.
And then now they're teaching Jim DeCraig and they're teaching people incorrect things. So
what
I
do
don't
you even
know.
learn in Jim DeCraig?
We should probably take it. Should we just do it?
Let's
just
sign up for a Jim DeCraig.
Let's just sign up
Let's
for
do
like a
it.
Taps. Taps does Jim DeCraig.
Yeah.
We'll live stream it.
Yeah.
I mean, the original purpose.
3 out of 4 of us fail our belay test.
I think all 4 are failing.
I have totally failed my belay test.
I have failed the belay test at the gym. Yeah, I'm failing.
Belay test, I think, has been on a previous tap.
Yeah,
for sure.
But
that was the one.
I think they
was
teach.
bashing.
You got an M scale score of 0.
I think they teach leave no trace.
Well, look, that's what I want to say is that like there was this original noble purpose for Jim DeCraig. Like I remember because the podcast's been sponsored by Black Diamond. I was involved in like this early. I mean, it was like a decade ago. Like this Jim DeCraig thing, and the idea is that gym climbers were going out to the cliffs and fucking up the cliffs because they were dumbasses and they thought they were in a gym. And I don't know. So they were basically going into the bathroom with their shoes on. No.
And it's like, and now 10 years later, there's more gym climbers going out and fucking up the cracks.
And that's the thing. It's like, so that was the idea. It's like, well, these people are urban, which was like a buzzword at the time and still is, maybe racist. I'm not sure. But they were like, okay, these people don't understand like this thing so this one is all tied into this traditional thing we're talking about, the back in the day thing we're talking about, because there's this idea that climbers had these like basic outdoor skills before they ever went climbing, which to a certain extent was probably true. It was true for me. Like I was a backpacker and shit before I was a climber. Mm-hmm. So I had these ideas of like minimalist, impact and all those sorts of things. And so the scare was these masses are coming out there and they got their Bluetooth speakers and they got their hammocks, and they don't know how to shit in the woods. So they're leaving their fucking TP all over and
they're day drinking.
Well, it's like, that's okay. They're cigs, they're flicking cigs into the bushes or whatever.
Well, then
and
that's Europe.
we have to, make sure that these people know what is going on. But then it kind of turned into this thing of like this gateway thing of like, let's just get more people out here because we'll sell more cams and we'll sell more nuts and we'll sell more this and that if they're also climbing outside.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what it always was.
I agree. I agree. And that's what I was going to get to is it was always was that.
Yeah. There's a little backstory with that whole thing.
Is there?
Yeah. So that whole thing came out from an LCO that I was involved in. And we had come up with this idea. Yeah.
A what?
What is LCO?
Oh, sorry. It's a local climbing
so many
organization.
acronyms.
Oh. Yeah. You guys don't even know
that must be an East Coast thing.
No.
I literally showed somebody the text you sent me the other day that said BITD.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know what it means. What does it mean?
TAPS itself is an acronym.
Maybe we should... No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's all caps.
So what? I just try to keep people confused.
Prince was all caps too, but it was just the guy's name.
So next year we need to bring in someone that's like under 25 to... They'll be like our token youngster to fucking just sit here in awe of us and our wisdom.
But yeah, I do
we'll
think
on their phones the whole time.
What do you think, Tyler?
That's a really
I think
good
you guys are great.
No, I'd say lit.
You guys are lit.
Yeah.
This is lit, yo.
You guys have Riz.
Yeah.
You guys are so woke and swole and all the things.
He'll just be vaping in the corner, though. Woke and swole. Anyway, you were saying about your LCOs.
No, I just think
Dropping
the short
the
story is that I do think that it's just a marketing stunt. But like, to drum up money for, access organizations and for companies that sponsor it.
Because, I mean, you sell gym climbers, shoes, harness, chalk bag.
Yeah.
Belay device. And
that's it. That shit in the gym, since you're not groveling up some fucking chimneys, you're your harness and shit's gonna last forever.
Yeah.
And you
So-
just get
Well,
it for
and
free at
if
a
you
lot of
don't-
gyms, or you rent
Right.
it for
And if you don't go outside, why would you need a membership to the, local or not, access organization?
LCO,
Yeah.
if you will.
Wait, what does that mean again?
But if you make all those people outside climbers, or you introduce them to it, then that kind of changes the spectrum a little bit. So
would you
it's
agree?
a little bit of a conspiracy
local
theory.
climbers only.
Yeah.
I hereby propose that we start a crag to gym initiative where we go to crags and we convince people to
go to the
leave
gym.
and
Yeah.
go to the gym.
This is
Get
great.
the fuck out of our fucking crags and go to the gym.
And whoever kind of is the champion for that, they can open a gym in Carbondale, Colorado.
Well, what would you look for? Like someone who's covered in
I think somebody that has their chalk bag, no chalk belt, but clipped
Or they're
to
just
their
not
harness and
sending.
carabiner.
You just go up to them. It doesn't look fun.
No,
Nowhere is fun.
It's the gym.
It's a gym.
They have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It literally.
Because a rifle doesn't have Wi-Fi. That could be your
They
first
have
selling
showers.
It literally is the person who has the cordelette hanging down to their knee. You spot them. It's like the cordelette to the knee, the
multiple belay devices clipped for
multiple-
a single pitch route.
multiple belay devices. They've got the
Spectra backpack.
yes, and the what is it called? The chalk bag to the carabiner, and it's on a large carabiner, so it's also hanging really low.
But locking, so it doesn't.
But locking.
Yeah.
But locking. That is our person that's going to go crag to gym.
I don't know. They're psyched because they got all that stuff.
Oh, and
That's
they
one
have a
of the
PAS device.
Well, that's one of the things about climbing outside is you get all the stuff. And
We
the
could
stuff
have
is
we could
cool.
have
Like,
we could have a
people are into
section in the
stuff.
gym where it's stuff only. There's a whole section of the gym that's just
stuff.
You
yes,
can't,
stuff.
You can't even climb. You're not even allowed
No,
in.
if
It's
you
like
don't
a
have your
separate
paws.
entrance that you have
You
stuff
can-
only.
You can build an anchor at the top of your route and lower off of it.
You can rent a quad from the gym. We're renting quads.
Or just an 18-foot cordelette and see what you can do with it.
The crag to gym. That's what we need.
It's
We
called
need
the-
that.
I mean, it would cure so many of these fucking access problems too.
I know.
And also like this whole wilderness thing. That's really what they want.
We just need to make climbing outside not cool.
The crag to gym
only-
initiative.
We only sponsor climbers who climb in the gym and hate climbing outside.
All right, here's a voicemail. I have it. Just says crowds. I marked it crowds. So let me see what it has to say. Maybe it fits into this. It fits into this argument here for the gym, crag to gym.
Hi, this is Gringo Dave. I'm calling from the bustling Front Range metropolis known as Denver, Boulder, Wheat Ridge, Louisville, Littleton, Arvada, Cherry Village. My girlfriend doesn't want to call in, but I'm going to call in for her. Her taps is she would like to see 70% of climbers just vanish because they're harshing our buzz. We're on our way to, guess where? Boulder Canyon. We're Colorado natives, by the way. Old and crusty. And we're hoping to get on a moderate climb with bolts, so we're probably going to be battling crowds. So wish us luck, and my lady friend wants people to just maybe vanish to another state. Okay.
All right, so he would be pro crag to gym.
She's like, tell them that they should be banished to another state right now.
So he's pro crag to gym.
Crag to gym.
See, I've been programmed to say gym to crag.
This is like the next Access Fund initiative, the Crag to Gym initiative.
Yeah, solve all our. Well, we might have no choice soon when
know.
all the bolts get banned.
Jeez.
Truly, we'll just all these gyms will be just packed, and we'd be like, "Why don't these people go outside? What the fuck?"
Either that or we're going to be hearing about people dying in the backcountry because they were like, yeah, I clipped the anchor on this route and, the anchor failed and we all fell to our deaths. Sorry to be grim, but
Are they
that's
haunting you? How are they telling you?
How are they reporting on this?
Mary.
Yes.
Avenge
We
me.
We died on the failing anchor.
All right, let's move on. Here's just a rando one. I think you guys might dig this one.
Hey, what's up, Taps? My name is Jeff. I'm a climber in Austin, Texas. And as soon as I saw the prompt, I knew that I felt the spirit move me to call and say that this year I'm fucking tapsing on supplements, man. Like, my Instagram feed is not just filled with board climbing and cool alpine shit, but never-ending supplement advertisements. And I'm speaking as a reformed, recovering supplement purchaser. But it seems to me that there's like a lot of questionable science moving around the climbing community right now. Like, branched chain amino acids are really probably not necessary for anyone who consumes enough overall protein. That's just, you're peeing it out, man. Same thing with like Gnarly. I really like Gnarly. They sell some really cool shit, but like also they have like 3 different hydration and fuel things. Like, why can't I just drink a Gatorade? There's real questions about, I guess, some of the collagen research. Everybody's on collagen, myself included. I had a terrible A2 pulley injury about a year ago, and I was like disciplined about my rehab and my training and getting it back and taking my collagen. And then there seem to be some really smart science folks who are like, actually, those collagen studies are like not really holding up to a lot of critical review, and maybe we're all pissing our money away on collagen. So anyway, I thought about this recently as I was like making my collagen coffee and trying to decide if I wanted to drink it before or after my daily greens, and, worried that I was out of pre-workout before I go to the fucking weight room.
I love this guy.
Before I hit the crag, and I realized that it was dumb, and I could do a lot less of that stuff, and so that's what I'm tapsing. And anyway, thanks. Keep it up.
Dude.
I
Hell
love
yeah.
him.
Jeff is awesome.
That's
I love Jeff.
That's an awesome one.
I have to say, I do take a lot of supplements, and I can speak to this, actually.
Well, first of all, before we get into that, I
Yeah.
just want to call out that using tapsing as a verb is like pretty baller.
We're getting
I'm
there.
fucking tapsing that shit.
I'm making it.
When you've got your title used as a verb,
Right.
you've made it. I'm tapsing. Okay, supplements. I love this guy. Jeff, I love you. I did buy into all these like things about supplements, and what I have found that as a female climber who is hormonal as well.
Why are you always reminding us about this?
Because I'm the only one in the room with tits, bro.
Can't you just be a climber and not worry about those things?
You're always shoving your hormones in our faces.
Just pushing them and pushing them. Stop. Well, part of this, though, has to do with when I get psycho. And because I have hormones and I'm a woman, I do get psycho. And so one of the things that
She said it, not us.
I did. I said it, not them. One of the things that I discovered is that for every pound of body weight, I'm supposed to be having a gram of protein. And that's really unfortunate because that's 120 grams of protein per day. And so what that means for me is that that's like way more protein than I can actually eat in a day. So I started using protein as a supplement, and I found that I had way more energy and felt way less psycho. So there's number one. And then number two, I have other like health things. I have like severe eczema. And because of that, I also take other supplements, and they do happen to help me with, I feel like they help me with climbing. Like I take turmeric, I do, Gatorade doesn't work for me because it's like too chemically. So I use Ultima.
It's too blue.
It's too blue. Like blue number 5 does not agree with me. I get eczema. So the thing that I'm finding is that some of these supplements are actually helping me not only in my general health, but also with climbing. I mean, I just feel, maybe it's a placebo, but I certainly feel better when I take my supplements, particularly protein.
Haven't you
Jeff.
fucked with collagen, Andrew?
Yeah, I have. I started taking it not without any I just heard that you needed to take more collagen. So I was like, I've never heard of that. So I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
He was at 7-Eleven. This guy in line was like,
yeah.
Dude,
literally,
you need to take more collagen.
It was like basically like that. And
your aura is all fucked up.
Yeah.
I just coincidentally had like an injured finger at the time. Like it was always hurting, crimping and stuff. And like literally after a week or maybe it was 2 weeks or something, it completely went away and my finger felt fine.
That's bizarre. And
I was like, holy shit. And I was like, I thought maybe collagen had something to do with it, but it was like just completely random. Like
the one that I remember was bromine. Do you remember that? Bromine was supposed to help with pulleys.
Huh.
That was like the first one I ever heard of for
Isn't
climbing.
that what you put in a hot tub?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
Well, no, it was in, you could get it out of pineapple. But like you'd have to eat like 3 pineapples a day to get enough. I'm not doing that. That's a lot of peeling. But yeah, I think I felt something similar. Like, oh, like my finger's tweaked. Take some bromine and it seems to feel better. But I don't know. I mean, a placebo effect is still an effect, right?
Yeah, but mine wasn't a placebo effect because I wasn't taking that for that purpose. Right. It was like completely unexpected side effect, and it just completely disappeared and never came back. This like tweaked finger. So I don't know if it would have just healed anyway and it was a coincidence or not. But yeah, I mean, I've read some of those studies about collagen since then. I actually read one today. It just popped into my news feed and it was like pointing to, I think a lot of the things that they point to as being bullshit are the effects on your skin. But the effects on your joints, I think is still maybe, I don't know. I think it was in that article that it was still legitimate. But his broader point about supplements, I think is valid. Like
yeah. I mean, there's
so
never been a
bullshit.
shortage of snake oil salesmen. I mean, that's like, and it like we people and climbers specifically want a magic bullet.
Yeah. The hack.
We don't want
that's
the
what
thing.
I think about it as is the hack.
Yeah. We don't want the thing that actually takes the patience and the work. We want the like, no, just tell me how many hangboard routines to do and tell me which supplements to take so I don't have to rest and I don't have to be injured.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to prey on that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying these companies are doing that, but if it wouldn't be hard to do. So I think
taking protein is a good idea. I mean,
sure.
There's nothing wrong with it anyway.
No.
I feel better with protein.
Yeah.
Way less psycho.
I think that's, I mean,
I think all these things are like worth experimenting with. Jeff, I think if he doesn't want to get served up supplement ads in his social media feed, he should probably stop buying them.
Yeah. Stop buying them.
I mean, no, that's what he's saying.
Online.
I think he's addicted. He's addicted to supplements.
I think the only harm with these supplements is just to your wallet. Like you're not going to do damage to your, I don't think. I mean, maybe the jury's still out, long-term effects. But yeah, you're just going to go broke.
That's the thing. Like you should eat as much as you can of the food version of the supplement. Right. I mean, I feel like the food is
all natural.
It's actually a little bit more fun too.
Yeah.
But I do think that if you feel like you're lacking in something, like there's no way I can ingest 120 grams of protein every day.
Throughout the course of the day. Yeah,
there's no way. That's a lot.
You need to suck the marrow out of the bone every day.
Did you try whey protein ever? That was like the big thing when I started climbing. Everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta get your whey protein."
Whey protein is
and
the
like
way,
it came in like chocolate, and you'd mix it in your Nalgene bottle, and
like
then
WHEY.
Yeah, and then you drink it, and then leave it in your car for like a week in the summer, and it smelled like
so bad.
You like unscrew the top, and it was
you
like
just throw away the whole bottle.
Like
it smelled like Bigfoot's dick. Like it was like. It was so bad. You would gag. You would
gag on Bigfoot's dick. Is that what you said?
You would rinse it out
while you were chugging Bigfoot's dick.
Yeah,
gagging.
No, it's terrible.
Excuse me while I gag on Bigfoot's dick,
you would try to clean it out, and you would do like 5 runs.
No, you were done. The bottle was gone.
It was over.
Yeah. You gotta
back in the day, climbers used to just drink it, and then they go back to sleeping in the dirt.
Yeah.
Sleeping
to death.
Maybe sleeping in a bathroom that night, actually.
Love 'em to death.
As long as they keep buying shoes.
All right, here's a quickie.
Victor Blanco, Lander, Wyoming. Bad parking jobs. Gotta go. They have to go. Park straight in, people. Close and straight in.
This guy's secretly like in rifle every weekend.
Do you know Victor Blanco?
I don't.
Oh man, no, he's.
But I want to know
You
him.
know Victor Blanco, right?
You know Victor?
The White Knight, yeah.
I mean, every time, and I mean, I don't know. I go through phases where I go to rifle a lot, and then I don't go very often. But every time, I'm like baffled when there's space between cars. I'm like, why is there more than 6 inches between these cars?
Which show and what episode did we talk about the fight?
Oh,
the parking fight with Maury.
I don't know.
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah. Maury punched a guy about parking.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But has this ever happened to you where you get to some crag early and there's no lines?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just a dirt and you park. And then everybody parks around you, and you come back, and you
look like the douche. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. If you're like the first person there, why the fuck aren't you parking on the very end?
True.
Like
That's
that
true.
to me is the douchebag move. You're the one that for the rest of the day screws up everybody else's parking.
You fuck with the algorithm.
Or you just get there late and you park next to 2 Sprinter vans, and then the Sprinter vans leave, and then a Prius comes in, and then there's not enough for another car, and it just looks like
you look like the douche.
But if you
look like the douche.
But if
You're
you
like,
park on the
swear
very
to God, I parked well to
If you
begin
park
with.
on the
And somebody's
very
written in the
end-
dirt, like, you're an asshole.
like in your car on the window.
you're like, I was framed. The fucking Prius.
Like literally framed by 2 Sprinter vans.
But if you park on the very end because you're the first person there, then it shouldn't matter, right?
True.
Right?
Yes. Yeah,
The first person there, but he's right. Like everything shuffles, and all of a sudden you're the douche.
You're like the odd Jenga piece or Tetris piece. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, park correctly.
I think just people don't know how to drive anymore.
Guys, none of this is going to be a problem once Craig to
smart
Jim
cars.
gets kicked off.
Yeah,
Craig to Jim. Honestly, like so many of these fucking problems are going to be cured by Craig to Jim.
Yeah.
The Craig to Jim initiative.
All right, here we're gonna go into this one. I think we covered this last year, but it remained murky. So, but we have to wait till the very end. This guy's got some other things to say, but the very last thing he says is what we're gonna listen to.
Hey, this is Chris, and I'm just gonna say that.
First of all, you could tell by Chris's tone of voice, like he's over it. He's also a Craig to Jim supporter. We should start raising money off of that. We'll start a nonprofit that promotes Craig to Jim.
I'll help with the fundraising.
Yeah, but we can all pay. We'll be like all these different
I'm gonna buy
executives
that website tonight.
Because you're allowed to pay yourself.
Climbing is way the fuck bigger than ever and is further than ever from supporting its own community and culture. Access issues are not solved by instituting fees. Chipping and lying is way lame, and I still see how polishing the worst career offenders, which include beauty managers, marketing comms managers in the outdoor industry, are clones of the same person, and Day Flash is not a real thing,
It was hard to hear, but in the end, he said, "Day Flash is not a real thing, kiddo." Andy,
we talked about this last year.
But
what?
Because I got a lot of fucking Day Flash entries. What is it?
Yeah, tell us.
Your knowledge, and I feel like you're the most connected to this.
Of my knowledge,
what the fuck is a Day Flash?
It means doing it first try of the day. But some people also use it to mean doing it in a day. So I think most people.
Which one's more common?
Doing it first try of the day is the most common that I see people.
So you've done. So let me get this straight. So you've attempted to climb the route 1,000 times.
Sure.
But on Tuesday, March 28th at 9 a.m., you put your shoes on for the first try of the day and you do it.
Day flash.
That doesn't make any sense.
That is the fucking stupidest thing I've ever
I actually
heard.
just like the way it sounds. Like, I day flash.
It'd be like saying that you day flash taking a shit.
I day flashed my coffee today.
Totally.
It was really good.
It's a contrived term that was made up to
day flashed it.
Just bolster somebody's self-importance. I want to know where it came from because
somebody started it.
Yeah, and it really only showed up 5 or 10 years ago at most, right? I don't know, but everybody that's under 30 uses it. It seems like
it's other meaning, possible meaning.
Yeah, doing it in a day
is
that makes more sense.
It makes a little more sense. Impressive. It's more impressive, but it's still fucking stupid.
It's stupid. Yeah.
It has to stop.
Well, what would you call doing a route in a day?
Just what you said. Just what you fucking said. You said I did it in a day.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to have its own term.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like your whole thing with language. It doesn't need its own term.
Right.
You either fucking flashed it, you on-sited it, or it took you multiple tries.
You either
backstepped 1 day or 2 day
or you had the rope behind your leg.
Could you
one or the other?
Could you year flash a route?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Decade flashed it.
Yeah.
Fucking lifetime flashed it.
I think it's the fault of the people who decided that on-site and flash had to be two separate terms. And from there, we've devolved.
You have a problem with that?
I don't.
Okay.
But it's a snowball
that's my all-time taps lament is the death
of the onsite.
Of the true
I don't
onsite.
think you could, unless you're going ground up FA on something that's never been done before.
Ground up FA trad.
Yeah, because if it has bolts,
that's A climbing. Yeah. Day flash.
Oh, you looked it up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Actually, maybe you should call your mom and see what she has to say.
I'm gonna call my mom.
What's the source?
Mom, what's a day flash?
She's like, honey, it means that you
Mountain Project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honey, it means that you got up in the morning and you did it first try that day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call my mom. Day flash is first attempt of the day after having attempted it on another day.
Or 3 other days or 7 other days.
Exactly. That's what it says.
So stupid.
Definition.
This fucking
I can't believe
dumb.
this is like the veil's being lifted on you guys with this shit.
Well, let me just say
we don't get out that much.
that
Doc.
the top 3
I come
things
with like 2 people.
The top 3 things it says is what is the definition to flash or day flash? This is when I Googled it. Climbing terms.
Okay, what is flash?
And third category, defunct climbing terminology.
Oh, is day flash in there?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems to be gathering steam.
It's all over the place. I mean, people put
you
it
hear
in
people say that like in seriousness.
Yeah, and
that's
on
the
Instagram,
first thing we'll do is at the Craig Gym is that's your first lesson. No more day flash.
No more day flash.
Do you day flash your warm up?
Technically.
Like,
it doesn't
how many
mean
times
anything. Have I day flashed 80 feet of meat?
Yeah.
80 feet of meat, I fucking have day flashed that thing like hundreds of times.
Yeah, but like...
Psyched. I'm putting that on my fucking res.
Yeah. But how many times do you do your project first go of the day anyway? Like, it's not uncommon.
No, it's like actually the most common.
Yeah, you're fresh.
Because you're fresh.
If you warm up properly,
or if you climb the day before, then you can day flash the day after.
You don't have to climb the day before to day flash.
That's how I day flash best.
Well,
but then the thing that you could do is if you were like on your 3rd try and like we're almost to the anchors, you'd purposely punt to save yourself for the day
next
flash.
Day flash.
Can you night flash at night?
By headlamp.
I want to know where this term came from because it's brutal.
I love night flash.
Night flash.
That does sound much cooler.
It does, actually.
Night flash. It's like if you climb at your project at night, which
it's
people
like when
do
you're
now.
you ever wake up super like sweaty in bed?
Yeah.
No, that's called a menopausal woman. Thank you very much.
How does that? What are you saying?
You're a menopausal woman. That's what I'm saying.
All right, I'm gonna go to the printout here. Some people had a problem with the voicemail option. So this one is from Bruce, and he brings up something that Adam Andra. We're all fans of Adam Andra, right?
Love
Except
Adam.
for Andrew. Bruce has brought up a new category for taps, which is exciting after several years of doing this. Is sort of the proto zombie, like the thing that as soon as the hand like pops out of the dirt in the cemetery, you fucking napalm the thing, like get rid of it. And his example was Adam Andra suggests that rather than pre-clipping draws on a sport route, first, second, third, whatever, that one should bring crash pads to the crag. You got a call coming in? Is that your mom?
Is it your mom?
It's my dad. Dad? Sorry. I'm on a podcast right now. Can you give me your definition of a day flash?
Of a what?
A day flash.
I don't know what that is.
Well, just whatever you think. Just what comes to mind when you hear day flash?
D-A-Y? Flash?
Yes.
Some important information comes to you. Somebody sends you a text and says, please call me right away.
Newsflash.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you contributing to this podcast.
Okay.
Bye. I love you.
I love you too.
He's going to go do some deep thinking right now, isn't he?
He's just like, he's standing in his study with his brandy, like in his
bathrobe.
In his bathrobe, like, what the fuck was that, Mary?
Honey, I told you they switched the bassinets all those years ago.
Well, ironically, I am adopted, so
okay.
So this is a wholesome truth.
Okay.
He's like, what the fuck?
The good news is he plays along. I've been his daughter for a long time, so he gets it.
Actually, I've met your dad. He's a lovely man.
He's lovely.
All right, so back to this thing, the proto-zombie. Adam Andra suggests that rather than pre-clipping draws on a sport route, first, third, second, whatever, that one should bring crash pads to the crag to make it safe. With all due admiration and respect for Adam, his climbing and advocacy for climbing, and acknowledging I'm just a punter that on a good day can't even aid his warm-ups, can we say, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Hats off to Bruce on calling out Adam Andra.
I'm glad that we don't have the sort of.
If you're going to come for the king, you better not miss, though. That's all I gotta
say. Aim for the neck.
It just seems so ridiculous, like so impractical to just show up with like 12 crash pads to protect the bottom of.
That's what the Brits do every time they go climbing.
It's true. It's true.
It's not like there's no precedent.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as a not roadside crag in fucking Britain.
Yeah.
So this is like the issue, and that's what Bruce went on to say. Like, what the fuck? I've already got like all my shit. Like now I got to drag like 6 crash pads up to the crag too. And my reply to him was like, dude, just fucking do like Adam does and have your entourage. Have fucking Pavel carry your goddamn pads to the base.
Yeah, and I think also that like where this misses the mark is that like sport climbing was intended to just distill difficulty to its, we're just looking for difficult moves and how we can link them together. And like like saying that you can only stick clip the first so that then you have to clip the second as you're climbing just seems like a convoluted, contrived way of forcing difficulty. And I think sport climbing was a step away from that.
Right.
Not
so when I bring my stick clip with me up the route and I'm stick clipping, really should somebody
you
keep
should also
adding
have a crash
pads?
pad on your back?
Like I should be like hauling up a crash pad, or even better, like my entourage is placing extra crash pads the higher I get, as opposed to me using my stick clip.
And I think that there is a distinction to be made for a hard, short, bouldery sport route. That. If you say, "Oh, I did it with a third pre-clip," then just say that, and then that's it.
Right.
And if somebody wants to take away your ascent, whatever. But like to suggest that you just, it's like saying, yeah, I mean, it's a conspiracy from Big Crash Pad to just get more crash pads. And I think that's what, somebody paid
exactly
off Adam.
Right.
To be like, hey.
Yeah, Black Diamond's like, Adam, we need to sell more crash pads this quarter.
The Mondo sales are tanking.
They take up so much room in the warehouse. We got to get these things out of here.
It's not dumb. I mean, if you make sport climbers buy bouldering gear, then that's like kind of genius.
100%. Andre, we're on to you, motherfucker. That is so spot on. I mean, that's the thing that it struck me about this is just like the disconnect that these people have, Adam. I mean, all these guys have from like the common person,
right?
Like what? Like, first of all,
have you just tried not being poor?
Exactly. Like, and then who's gonna? I mean, because honestly, he is not carrying the fucking crash pads to the crag.
Yeah,
like he does not do that. It's somebody else.
Someone else is helping him.
Yeah. So it's just there's an absurdity to it, but
and like we need crash pad stashing at Sport Crags.
I know.
Like it's just a whole other.
Well, this is even more reason to have the Crag to Gym initiative.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is another good.
Are
one.
we going to talk about Verve?
Oh yeah, let's do your Verve one. What the fuck? Where is Verve?
Where the fuck is Verve?
Did you look it up?
I have not looked it up, but I will. Will you look it up?
Look it up. Yeah.
Look it up. I just think that Verve clothing, aside from the story you told me, but it's really comfortable.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem with the men's pant is that it might show an outline of a dick.
Well, if there's a man in them, yeah.
But if there's a woman in them, there won't.
Maybe not. But isn't that kind of a double standard?
It could be.
Like it's okay that it's not okay that I have an outline, but you can, for example.
I could have an outline of a dick.
Ooh,
well,
fight.
No, but
but what I like about
they were comfortable.
They're comfortable. Awesome. The Verve clothing is comfortable. The Verve bras for women, all you women out there, are very flattering to women that are extremely flat chested, which would include me in this group. And I just really like how they feel and look. Do you have information for us, Chris?
I just found verveclimbing.com. It still appears to be operating. I'm not going to put a ton of time into it. But can we put a little history note on
But is no
Verve?
one wearing them? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand why you bring up Verve.
I mean, when was the last time you saw someone with some Verve clothes on that weren't all ratty and they got them out of the gym lost in town?
I don't notice what people wear.
Oh, right. But honest, no, it's like the reason it's important is because it was groundbreaking, like pure indoor or sport climbing clothing when everything else was alpine oriented clothing. I think when you say that, came out in a time where it's like North Face was making climbing clothes for big roots and, wicking and all that thing. And Verve was like, no, this is stylistic. It's just for bouldering and for climbing.
It's like
sport climbing.
Cute booty shorts and cute bras, and men look hot in their clothing.
The other thing that Verve did is make the shortest women's shorts. They are the progenitor of the booty short for climbing. Like, not only did they create them, but they convinced everyone that was what you climb in.
And there was no booty short creep.
No, it was just like they created the shortest shorts ever worn by human beings.
Exactly. If they got any shorter.
And they convinced women that was what you climb in.
Yeah.
And if you had the booty to go along with the short,
then you did it.
You felt good.
Right. And the thing is that they tried to make smaller shorts, but they couldn't.
They were as small as they could get.
As small as they could get.
But I will say also that they're very enhancing towards men as well. I mean, not the, dick outline thing, but more so that they do also enhance the male derriere.
And the thing is that Christian Griffith, the inventor of Verve, the Verve himself, that was his, again, he was like the first guy to go like style. Like, this isn't just functional. It's not just wicking and water repellent and things to go
it was
climb
effing
Everest.
cotton.
But he's like, these are clothing. This is clothing to be stylish and climb at the same time. And what were the Bojimbos or something? Those crazy like calf length, like kind of flowy pants.
Isn't that what you had?
No,
yeah, didn't you have some fucking?
I had a few,
man
but
prees.
I had like the man prees.
Yeah, the man prees.
like-
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
I think they were called the Bojimbos or something.
They might have been. I don't know. I got them like at a bargain bin. Dude.
Were they comfortable?
They were awesome.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
wouldn't
saying.
take
But
them
what
off.
happened?
Even the booty shorts for women were super comfortable.
Yeah.
Like it's not only enhancing of the, thing that they're trying to enhance, but they were comfortable. The women's bras, comfortable. Thank you, Christian.
So you'd like to see this come back.
I want to see
I mean, it still
Verve
exists,
clothing
but,
take a
like-
strong comeback. Like I want to see like
A full erection in a pair of Bojimbos.
or hot ass and a pair
Oh,
of
sorry,
like,
that's what I want.
tiny shark. Whatever you want.
But even the name, like, he was into like, this is gym clothing. This is climbing gym clothing before climbing gyms were a thing. Like the guy was on. I mean, Christian Griffith is a whole nother enigma in climbing. But like, yeah, it's crazy that it still exists. I mean, I'm looking at it, but he must have rebuffed buyouts 100 times because there's certainly some larger
Prana or something or whatever.
right came in and said we'll take
Lululemon.
right we'll buy your company and blow it up. He must have rebuffed them. So I think he's something of an artist. But yeah, Verve clothing.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see some more Verve out there.
Verve was wacky and like trend setting.
Well, it sort of...
It's like Pusher. They were kind of like the Pusher of
it
clothing.
ties into the counterculture thing, right?
Right.
And I think Verve was counterculture to climbing clothing, like, itself. It
Yes.
was like, no, we're going to make shit hot.
You're not going to find Verve in McGyms.
No, you're not. But it was like, it was an attempt to like sexualize climbing clothing for sure.
Yes.
Remember that cover?
100%.
Like, I mean, anytime you saw like a magazine with like some chick in Verve, like it wasn't, nobody cared about the route she was on.
No. Well, and then there's the famous picture which we brought up the other day for some reason. Didn't we bring up the G-string? Oh, with Ethan. There was like this famous picture of Christian climbing in Eldo bouldering in a G-string.
Oh.
A Verve G-string. Like not tiny underwear, but like a literal G-string.
Like dental floss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the thing about Christian at the time and continues probably to be the truth is like it wasn't like ha look at me in a G-string. It was like, no, I'm climbing in this, deal with it.
Yeah.
Like this is me, this is who I am, and here's my body. So
There you go.
there you go.
The only other one I want to bring up, it's at some point I want to talk about day drinking.
Go.
Do you want to talk too about day
Yeah,
drinking? Sure. Okay. This is kind of like something that back in the earlier 2000s, like I would go to rifle. I was just starting out there and I was like, wow, this feels intense to me. I'm feeling kind of like intense and tense. And I met a few people who were like, oh yeah, we start drinking at like, noon. And I'm like, oh, cool. I think I'm going to try that.
You're like, drinking? What's drinking?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, come over to our car.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like,
Put on these Verve shorts.
put on these Verve shorts and start drinking. Here, let me hand you that.
That's a great first sentence to your memoir, Mary. A man came up to me, told me to put on the Verve shorts and start drinking.
And I said,
and that's when I knew I'd be a climber.
not the actual story where like Dan Gambino was like, let me smell your armpit. Oh yeah, you'll qualify as a climber. You stink. So I started, I'm not even like a heavy drinker. I mean, I'm like, if I'm heavily drinking, it's like 2. Like that's heavy drinking for me. So I was like, yeah, I'll have a beer at like, maybe not noon, but like, how about like 2:00? And I started doing this and I started noticing that there were like quite a few other people whom I admired or was like, wow, they climb pretty hard, but they're having a beer at like noon or 1. And so now going back to God bless you, Jeff, who's like, yeah, I got all my supplements and I'm like proteined up and I'm like doing all the things to like climb hard. But there was this element to day drinking that I climbed way harder when I was day drinking. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm taking my protein and I'm like managing my eczema and I'm like taking all the supplements and I'm a complete dork and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm forever 5'12". But like when I could day drink, I'm like, yeah, woohoo, party! Like there was some fucking Ozzy Osbourne playing in the back of my head when that was happening, and I was sending shit. I mean, just putting it out there. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I was going to bring up drinking just in the context of like it's a more of a passé thing. Like a lot of the younger crowd, it doesn't, or just younger people are drinking less. I think that's like a nationwide trend,
which is good.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super good. Yeah. There was like a very strong component of drinking culture with climbing is like being
well,
synonymous.
let's like broaden it to like drinking and drugs and getting fucked up.
Yeah, there was weed in there. I mean,
we had the Avery Challenge in Rifle for years, which was, you had to drink a 6-pack of IPAs basically and try to do a hard route, which sounds like really bad when I say that, but that's what we did.
Yeah. Plus, it'll give you the shits.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's like, honestly, like the day drinking thing is funny, but it's also tied to all of it. Like the back in the day thing and like the sleeping in the dirt thing.
BITD.
And the supplements thing. And this whole thing about like moving away from this weird old mythological essence that we had of climbing, which was that you smoked weed. I mean, we talked to Dean Fidelman the other day, and it's like, he's like, most of my pictures couldn't sell because people were smoking weed.
Yeah.
It's like it's the intoxication and the drugs thing. And actually, I was just talking to David Smart, who wrote a biography on Royal Robbins. Like, Royal Robbins was a fucking weed smoker, which you look at the whole
Even though
image
he
of
was
him,
called the Valley Christians,
right? It was
Yeah.
like this whole counterculture, and the counterculture. I mean, that's the thing. Like that is the underlying thing of this whole TAPS thing is like the loss of that.
Yeah.
Like so much of the things we've talked about tonight is the loss of this like counterculture against the grain. Because I mean, there's
just how I articulate what it is with drinking specifically. It's like it seems like it's like the focus is more on performance and less on just like letting loose or whatever. Just it's like, oh, I can't have a beer if I want to like do my thing, which I've been thinking about, and like taking supplements over and like
and like everybody's at the fire and there's some people playing guitar and there's like,
how am I to day flash my project tomorrow if I'm a little hungover?
Exactly. But you know what I mean? Like all the mythology of climbing is those, I mean, the Vulgarians and the Gunks and like, like I said, like the night by the fire where so-and-so was like dancing and they were playing guitar and there was bongos out and like, those are the stories you tell, not like, oh, I went to bed at 8, and drank my fucking protein so I could day send the next day.
After my protein shake, I went to bed at 8, and that was that.
And so like the day drinking is just a symptom of that.
I think that these things are cyclical, and I think that the generation of climbers before the Vulgarians and before Royal Robbins were actually uptight. Like the Appies, the Underhills of Boston, they would
in
go
the
out.
Sierra Club.
Yeah, like they were uptight. And then you saw
Super.
it was like a reflection of the times, the 60s, like the hippie era. Yeah, sure, the climbers were like that. And so maybe today it just is a reflection of like everyone's like sort of, I don't know, in this society a little bit uptight and people are coming into climbing and they're like climbing a little bit of release, but like I don't know if I'm comfortable getting wasted at the crag yet, So
that's a good
point. It might shift. Like 20 years from now, we might be like, climbing's fucking crazy. Like, dude, like the kids are like blowing lines in the parking lot. If it does, like who knows?
I mean, it's not to say that people should be getting like wasted or anything, but what I kind of like miss or lament or whatever is just that time when I was really, I mean, maybe this also has to do with the fact that like at that time I didn't have a child too. I don't know, but it was like this time period where I was really free And like, I would bring, being on support crew when I was in Indian Creek for a month, and like bringing up the 12 pack of beer for people who were trying to send that day. That was like support crew. Like I would just hike up there with the beer.
But we also are like kind of stabbing at this, right? Like none of us have been to, where the young cool kids hang out.
Yes,
do we
true.
really know if they're not just like, I don't know, like
They're smoking tons of weeds.
Maybe, yeah.
But they're also like
They're
doing
vaping the
Molly and
fuck.
shit. Like we don't even know what
God.
Molly is.
Right.
Like it's just the thing. Like
Yeah, I don't wanna
She
do
called
Molly.
in earlier. So wasn't she the first call I did? Oh, Molly about sleeping in the dirt.
I don't want to like take it to,
right, well,
but I
here.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, let's do this one because it fits.
Hi again, this is Matt. I left a message about 30 minutes ago. To clarify what I was saying, I think I figured out a better way to say it. What I'm thinking is it feels like climbing is becoming so obsessed with the rules that one of the dying trends that I am lamenting is just going out there and figuring it out for yourself. It feels like there's a big focus on what you're allowed to do, what you're told you can do, and relying on that information to go out and send it rather than, maybe just going out and seeing if the ice is in, or going out and climbing something and maybe not knowing every single piece of beta about it before you go, and wanting to, I guess maybe lamenting that sort of just getting out there aspect of climbing. Feels like it's becoming very rules-based, very driven by what you are and aren't allowed to do.
I'm going to get out there with my stick clip hanging off my harness and a fucking beer cozy in my hand.
Yes. But I think you're right, though, because we don't have our finger on the pulse.
We don't.
Yeah.
We're all over 40, dude. Like
Right.
we need somebody who's 22, spent the, I don't know. I went to up to Deep Creek this summer, and there were two dudes there. One dude was
Actually, you're right. Deep Creek is definitely a day drinking crag.
Yeah, like these dudes were 11 o'clock, man, and
Yep.
they like left it at the Waco like all day. And so, I mean, I don't know. I think it still happens. I just think we're not in the scene.
Right.
I mean, I haven't been on a bouldering specific trip for years now, so I don't know.
Well, let me say this then. It's like this undercurrent that's not reflected in the media.
Yeah.
Right? And
But,
so
yeah, it's not front and center anymore.
it's not front and center anymore.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean,
You know what that is though? That's like, I think a little bit, we talked about the McGyms, that's like a lot of companies and media for that matter being a little afraid to sort of shine a light on those like less desirable aspects of climbing because they've got profits and shareholders to sort of answer to.
Well, the reason that any of us drink is because it like removes our inhibitions. Like that's
Right.
the reason that it's fun. And everyone today seems so uptight and afraid to have their inhibitions removed because they might say something that gets them in trouble, or they
Right.
might like be weird or different. And there's for sure a streak of conformity that regardless, we might not have our finger exactly on the pulse, but I think it's fair to say that the newest, up and coming climbers are very conformist
Mhm.
people. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of individuality, and it's a lot of very sameness, and people are kind of all, copycat molds of each other.
Totally.
That's of course not
No,
true for everyone.
I hear
but,
you. Yeah.
Just generally.
Weirdness of climbing isn't celebrated anymore.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know because
Because that's not what we're like missing. It's not like we're missing like the fact that people aren't walking around with beers in their hands and joints in their mouths or whatever. It's just everything that
idea.
goes with.
Yeah.
It's like the greater milieu of the culture
Mm-hmm.
that kind of lends itself to people acting like depraved,
Yeah.
bums.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, and I'll say this, is that like I spent some time on the run out complaining about that fucking rave at the campground.
Well,
so
we're old now. That's why.
Yeah.
But that is that, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those people were ready to party and not fucking worry about their day flash.
Well, and not worry about what the authorities might say or what their community might say,
Right.
like they didn't care.
They didn't care. And
And
so
now we look now climbing is like so big that it maybe can't support that sort of attitude anyway.
well, that's the thing I kind of heard in that voicemail is what I call the hall monitors.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had, I think on taps, I've had the wet rock ramps.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's it, the hall monitors. And other people called in with that, like, why do we have to, like, you know, it's like even some ice climbers, you know, they said, well, you know, if you go out on a marginal day, then and you come back, even if it was successful, everybody fucking slams you because it was like above freezing and you were out there like risking
Ruining
your life.
it.
And and so it's like, you know, and I remember an old post where some woman posted a picture of her and her boyfriend like sitting in some grass in Indian Creek, you know, and everybody like hammered them because they were off the trail and they were like,
right.
You know, and I was just like, that's all fucking invasive fucking cheatgrass. Like that's an invasive species they're supposedly trampling. Like the cows have fucked it up years ago. Like get off their case.
Yeah.
You know, it was a pretty picture and they were like sitting there, you know, arm in arm or whatever. And it's like, nobody noticed any of that. They just like, oh, you're trampling grass, you know? And it's just like, it's this weird thing that like everybody's ready to, and honestly, like the bolt prohibition thing, the thing that's, I think basically today is the last day to comment on it or tomorrow is the same thing. Like there's these apologists that are coming out of the woodwork of like, well, you know, this is just the way it goes when we have all these people out there, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, fucking push against that shit.
Yeah.
So let me play this one because this is in that line. I don't know what Mary's doing.
She's probably calling the hotline.
This guy uses this word heel.
Hey, this is Anderson, and I want to lament the death of the heel. We don't have anybody in climbing that is really good and is out there throwing shade or just being a little bit edgy at all. We're vanilla and whitewashed to the point where you can only be positive, and it's pretty lame. Think about Jerry Moffitt. Was Nolly Hookatival our last heel? Flying first class, flexing on all of us, putting up B-17, and then dropping off the radar. Thanks. Bye.
In there, he uses the word heel, but like this person who is willing to call out what's going on in climbing. And the funny thing, when I heard this thing, I actually thought of Andrew Bisharat. Because this motherfucker right here isn't afraid. The funny thing also, when I heard that, I was like, man, the taps, like, this is what we do. Like, let's call it out. Let's, like,
we are a
put
heel.
a face. We're heels.
Yeah.
I'm a heel. We're heels. Just one show only.
And I think he referenced Jerry Moffitt.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, Jerry, he was sort of, when he would criticize climbing culture, I mean, he did it in a way, though, that was like, he was taking the piss. It wasn't, you know, he wasn't sitting there with like, you know, saying this is the way it should be done. It had humor to it.
Right.
You know? And we're making jokes. It's the same thing. We're basically Jerry Moffitt.
We're Jerry Moffitt. Fucking Jerry, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
But
it's sweater weather.
It's true. There is like a, you see it like with pro climbers just being like, oh, I don't want to touch that.
Right.
You know, oh, not saying a thing on that, you know?
Well, and like, even like, you know, Andrew pointed out the Patagonia post on the anchor thing. Like they just wanted to have it both ways. Like we're, you know, like
we like the wilderness
too, but you know, and Chenard and adventure and like don't piss off anybody because we got to keep selling these fucking jackets. So great. You know, and it's just like, I think a lot of the people who called in and left voicemails, like that's the basis of their problem with this, of the whole paradigm. You know, because influencers, like we got in, you know, the influencer thing last year got like really crazy and we got a lot of pushback on that. But that's, the influencer thing came up again. It's just like this kind of homogenization, or this like, it's just kind of like everybody has to say the right thing all the time because everybody's on the make and nobody's willing to like lose some money because they said something that's unpopular
or even image.
Right.
I think it's not even about money. It's about like how you're perceived in the community. Everyone wants to be like, oh no, I want these people telling me I'm doing a good job, you know?
But there's feedback for, you know, there's feedback to influence that, to use the word, but because there's been climbers that we know that are friends of ours that have like pushed the envelope and gotten fucking smacked down. And so it's funny because it's kind of like the social media thing in general. Like everybody disagrees with it, but it's like as a group, we're on board with like smacking down people who like get out of line. You know, it's weird.
Yeah. Canceling.
I mean, canceling's a little bit like broad and kind of overused because it doesn't have to be quite as like, you know, overt as that, but it's still just everybody's afraid to say some things that are a little bit controversial.
Yeah, I wonder if it's even like more depressing than that, which is that people don't even have something controversial to say because they haven't like thought in that way for maybe their whole lives. Like, I don't know. I just get the sense that like you press some people on like, oh, what is it that you really want to say that's like so naughty and bad? And a lot of people are like, well, I don't know. It's all just like climbing. It's fine, whatever. I find a lot of that, which I think is even worse.
That's worse. Yeah. No, it is.
So I'm saying it's worse than what we're saying.
Well, it's like
having no opinion is worse than having an opinion and keeping it to yourself.
Like a lot of, I mean, I've interviewed, like I have my fingers not completely on the pulse of the youth climbers, but I've interviewed and been around a number of high end ones, and they're very great, nice, polite people who have like virtually nothing interesting to say about climbing beyond like, this is something I do. I train for it. You know, I hang out with my friends and that's it. It's like this very just, I don't know, sanitized like thing. Like there's nothing like all that interesting and engaging about it. And I do think that the more you like break out of like the training gym culture world into the adventure scene, there's a lot more interesting people who have interesting things to say. That's why we like, talking to Connor Herson, for example. And I don't know. So I think that willingness to take risk on the rock should translate into your willingness to take risks as a human being in life, you know, whatever that means. And that should mean like being able to speak your mind and not be afraid of what's going to happen to you for having a genuine opinion. And, so yeah, I mean, if you're not using climbing to like learn those lessons, like I don't know what you're doing. Like you're just wasting your time, basically.
What the hell are you doing? Well, it's interesting that you bring this up for a couple of reasons. One is that I just think with age comes experience and also those opinions about things. So there's that piece to it where, you know, if you're interviewing someone who's younger, they may just not even have the context for which they have experiences that will allow them to say anything opinionated, you know. And then the other thing is, even if somebody is young, if they've had more experiences than their counterparts, then that would also constitute them having more of an opinion about things. And I just think that, like, you know, in climbing, particularly now, it's those topics that we talked about, you know, when we were texting each other, and there was like, oh, we want to maybe mention like talking about eating disorders. We want to mention talking about, you know, this, that, or the other thing, these topics that are maybe not widely accepted, but they are being touched upon. So I just kind of wonder if like some of it is just the fact that whether you're a climber, a runner, a skier, or whatever, if you're young, you just haven't had enough experience to like be able to put forth more of an opinion about something.
Well, you should, but that's no excuse, because you can have an opinion and it can be uninformed and it can be wrong,
right?
Yeah.
She's fucking young as shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, someone that I'm thinking about is Carolyn Gleich, I think is how you say her last name. She's a skier.
Yeah.
And she's a young person, but she also is running for Senate, which to me is like pretty impressive, even if, you know, no matter who she is.
It's like the opposite of the counterculture thing that we're trying to sell over here. She's like literally becoming the man. You know?
Well, I'm
the woman.
I'm thinking about it because to run for Senate or to do anything in that like political venue and at that level, you have to have some guts, and you have to also have some
guts,
life
for sure.
experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just go into it with no life experience and no guts and no opinion. Like you have to have a combination of one of those things.
Laura Boebert?
Oh, well then there was that.
Well, that's a representative. That's different.
She's like Lord Voldemort. It's okay.
So we're gonna do one more big one, and then we'll do a speed round, and then we're done.
Cool.
Speed round.
Keep doing it.
Whoa.
Okay, so this came in via email because people in across the pond could not call into my 800 number that easily. This is from Edward in the UK. He says, my suggestion for this category: climbing expeditions pretending to be scientific expeditions.
Yeah,
Look,
that's one.
That's
and
good.
I love Alex Honnold. I fucking love Hazel Finlay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I want that out there. However, appreciate there might be some value to Honnold's Greenland trip in the placing of sensors or whatever. But this feels like the end of the wedge. I'm expecting more and more expeditions that are basically climbing trips with some pseudo-scientific goals tacked on to make the people feel good, but are really Bollocks. Let's rid ourselves of this. The world is depressing enough. I want escapism. I want to see people climbing hard things in a cool way. I want to watch people ski cool lines and ski docks. When I watch surfing videos, it's for the aesthetic enjoyment. I don't need scientific overlay, hand-wringing about how bad everything is. Yes, we know. Leave the science to proper scientists. I want more content like that Dan Osmond free solo video of Lover's Leap. Uncomplicated fun.
Oh.
So fun. Just want the monkeys to risk their lives for me and dance.
and make me feel good.
If anybody's not seen that, it's on YouTube. Fucking do the speed climbing as Osmond thing.
Yeah.
There is something disingenuous about, the pretense of, doing science or whatever, and you're really just using that to go somewhere cool and exotic or whatever. I get that.
Awareness, dog. Awareness.
I don't know why, but it reminds me of do you ever hear about the CIA mission to put a nuclear reactor on top of some Himalayan peak?
Yeah, didn't Pete
Takeda?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Didn't he write a big book about it?
And so they had a...
they lost one, I think. It was up there,
Yeah, and so it's sort of like that, right? Where you, they have this, expedition, and really it's just, a CIA mission.
Well, how many times has Conrad Anker climbed Everest looking for some dead body that, up there or whatever? I mean, all of that stuff has had... I think a lot of people don't realize, but the reason that this happens is because those are good stories and they have hooks and they have interest beyond that.
And so you can get sponsorship dollars.
Who are good at being pro climbers and sponsored climbers understand that and they tap into that. And that's how they get all of that stuff paid for. So joke's on you if you're not doing that.
Well, I mean, that's just the thing though. Doesn't this hearken to the whole complaint of environmental warriors that fly all over the world to rock climb or to climb mountains?
How many greenhouse gas emissions are they shooting into the atmosphere just by flying?
Yeah.
But they're spreading the awareness of how bad climate change is.
Yeah,
doing it.
And it's like this, there's this intellectual part of me that understands okay, it's a systemic change we need, and these little, being on a jumbo jet around the world isn't really the thing we're worried about. But my heart tells is still I totally great at that. The world traveling climber, the Karakoram climber, the Pakistan climber, the Nepalese climber that's telling me about climate change. Mm-hmm. It's well, then stay the fuck home, dog. I can't, I have a hard time reconciling the two because I understand that, whatever.
It's ultimate hypocrisy.
But also most of the greenhouse gases come from 10 different industries, and that's who needs to be regulated. And
didn't we get into this last year?
Yeah, we did. But it's I just spend my time trying to not be cynical about it, but I'm super cynical about it.
Well, okay.
Climbers, worldwide climbers telling me about climate change bothers me. And I think that at the basis of this voicemail is that this idea that you went and, did this minor 5% scientific thing so you could climb this thing when the real thing to do would have been just to quickly fly a helicopter there and put that sensor down.
I'm gonna go to Antarctica with like a volcano and some baking soda and do some science. Like, make a little diorama, like a volcano explosion.
In like second grade.
This is kind of an interesting.
Okay, we're done with that. Let's go fucking climb this thing.
This is really
Did you get the footage of me doing the volcano? Okay, let's go.
This is super interesting because on one hand, like I actually sometimes lament the fact that I personally can't travel as much as I used to because I have all these responsibilities.
Yeah, but you're an environmentalist just by virtue of staying here.
It's true. That's true, but I still have that burning desire to go travel somewhere and see a new place and see a new culture. So there's that part of me where I'm like thinking about that. Then there's a side of me where I'm like, transportation is like in the top 5 greenhouse gas emissions that it's ruining our planet globally. Like I get all upset about that. So it's like, okay, let's say we're like professional climbers and we're like awesome and getting paid to climb. And that's like the dream come true that we're just getting paid to climb. So how do you deal with I'm getting paid to climb and I want to kind of like attempt to do the right thing, but knowing that I have all these constraints that, you know, prevent me from like 100% doing the right thing, like staying at home. So the next step is, well, if I'm going to travel, I might as well do something, you know, that's like greenwashing at least.
No, as far as I can tell, most pro climbers are getting paid to just moonboard and post videos on Instagram. So
I could be a pro climber.
Just moonboard. Yeah, that's the most. Moonboarding is an environmental act.
It's true.
Environmental resistance. It's environmental
you've got like
justice.
The holds that were created, the plywood, you know, all that
That's
greenhouse footprint could be offset easily. I mean, but it goes back to, I think it goes back to Edward, who says that like, then just don't pretend, like just go on the climbing trip.
Yeah.
We're good.
And it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be like, yeah, dude, right on.
I mean, because I think of like Brad Gobright, the long lost climbing hero, and I just don't see him ever buying into like, I'm going to go on this and spraying on his Instagram about environmentalism. Like that guy was a pure climber.
Yeah.
And he just went climbing and we all loved it. We didn't lament that his carbon footprint was big. He just went climbing and like he didn't care about it. And it was like beautiful and wonderful. And, you know, the whole extra thing, you know, and that comes with sponsorship and all this sort of thing. And these companies who produce these like, you know, basically petroleum-based products trying to just basically make their image better. And that's what this guy's getting at. So I mean, I haven't seen the film. I'm going to watch it anyway. You know, this giant wall this Chaucy wall that
it looks terrible.
It looks terrible, but it's probably going to be a good show.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go into speed round.
Speed round.
And then we're going to get out of here.
Greetings. My name is Mike. My TAPS request for the year 2024 is to never hear the word condies ever again. Thanks for your consideration.
Any comments? Condies. There you go, dude.
I don't know. It doesn't bug me.
No.
Why does it bug him so much?
It's just one of those words.
I think it's not the word that bugs him, it's the people saying it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. Because they probably also throw around day flash and
But isn't it, I mean, amongst us, didn't it very quickly go from something people say to something you parody?
Yeah.
Okay, can someone
candies are in.
Yeah.
Can someone tell me what this means? Because when I look
Conditions.
candies, because I was like, candy?
Conditions.
There's a condies candy.
Yeah, like what are the
company.
conditions? What is it?
The condies.
Or dishies. Some people say dishies.
And what is that?
Conditions, you know?
Okay.
There's also the, like, you know, if
Dishes
you're in a
is
one-night
worse than
stand, you could be
condies.
like, dude,
Yes.
can you use a condi?
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
That's what you call one that has a tip cut off.
Right.
It's just part of one. It's a condi.
And that's how you have babies, folks.
Okay, so this is Brian from Sweden. This is a zombie. It's going to be quite a controversial one.
but my zombie is gates out. We all know it's ergonomically superior to have gates in.
What?
Yet there's this ridiculous, and it appears growing trend of gates out. I'm seeing gates out for Harambe all over the place. It's gotta stop.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Gates in or out?
Gates out.
I don't have a preference.
You don't have one you
Unpopular
do?
opinion. I don't have a preference.
It's random?
How you
No,
rack
it's
your
always
harness?
the same, but like, because I like the order being the same.
How do you rack your harness? Gates out, gates in.
I flip back and forth.
No, you don't.
Yes,
no
I
one
fucking
does
do.
that.
That would fuck my brain up.
It's not that big a deal. It's the
He's full of
same.
shit.
He's non-binary.
He's non-binary.
I do gates in because I'm not a psycho.
Really?
Yeah.
But I'm a psycho 47-year-old woman, so
I agree
there
with
you
that
go.
guy. It's much more
Gates out.
ergonomical with gates in.
I find it equally ergonomic.
I can do both, but I find the gates do get a little bit more
Like,
snagged.
do you have a preference if the gate is facing left or right when it's on a bolt when you're going to clip?
No.
So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah, but that's
boy.
different.
Okay, so
No, it's just like how you grab it off your harness.
if I have hold on. If I have a sling across my chest because I'm trying climbing, I have the cams on my
Get on your
harness.
mic.
I have my
Sorry.
cams on my harness. Then I have gates in when the carabiners are on my sling. I have gates out when they're on my harness.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
I can't deal with gates out on a sling because it's like so awkward and the sling's like flimsy
slings
and
are
moving
awkward. Oh, really?
around. What?
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
you have to have the like shoulder mobility to do gates in, I think, because you have to come up like into a chicken wing position. If
I'm
the gates
fine.
out,
Yeah.
then you start at the
Maybe
high
that's cool.
point
I'm
and then you
cool.
come out.
So the real reason I wanted to play this one is because I am proud of myself in that after 30 whatever years of climbing, I have changed.
What?
Nice.
Yes, I know.
Wow.
And I have gone from gates in to gates out. And even though I don't always remember because 30 years of fucking racking gates in, but I've turned it out because of that very reason. I feel as though gates out is easier to get off without raising my shoulders, which are all completely fucked because I'm 50 fucking almost 4 years old or 3 years old. I don't even know how old I am.
Older than us.
Right. That now it's easier to get them off, which makes it seem better in the long run over time. And I've been a stick in the mud. But I also want to show that I can change at this age in this length of my climbing career.
Old dog.
You
no
really
tricks.
are an inspiration, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Proud.
very much. Thank you.
Okay, one last little thing. When I'm clipping a bolt, though, I always think of the bottom carabiner of the clip as being the spine of the carabiner facing in the direction I'm traveling.
Yeah, I know that's like an old thing that they taught you.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't
But what
really
about
matter.
gate-
It probably
what about
doesn't,
gate
but
facing on your draw? No, let's not get into that.
oh god, both facing the same way. Thank
Is
you
the
very
way,
much.
Is the way.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is the way.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey, this is Victitious, and you guys really need to kill all this Alex Honnold talk. It's just like nonstop. There needs to be like new, fresh blood in the climbing community. People need to be talking about people like James Lucas.
Was that James calling in? Old Victitious.
Well, the real question is as well, mentioning Honnold ever not be like completely awesome SEO and like, will he ever be tapped?
Clickbait.
I mean, other than
I saw some
in
people
reality.
who were psyched that Honnold wasn't in the Real Rock lineup.
Okay, so are we
So
over?
they were kind of like, oh, we're
Are we over Alex Honnold?
Maybe in
I'm
Real
not.
Rock.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I'll
I
fucking
mean,
get
who
as much
the
as I
fuck
can.
free solos?
Exactly.
Then El Cap. Like,
Yeah.
who the
Exactly.
fuck does that? You got to be kind of special to do that shit.
Alex is special.
I'm gonna play just a minute of this one because she doesn't want me to actually play the whole thing.
Hey, Clues. My name is Rose, and I actually have something that I want to resurrect in the climbing community. I want to resurrect gatekeeping. I feel like we are just too kind now to everybody, and that we let so many people just
Speed round.
Gatekeeping, bring it back.
I kind of liked it because it's the Craig to Jim.
Yeah. We've already addressed this.
We've already solved your problem, Rose.
We just had a different name.
With the gate, the gates are the doors to the gym, and that's where we're gonna fucking shove every last climber.
Once everybody's in there, lock it up. It'll be like fucking Thunderdome in there. You guys can like fight to the death over the fucking the audible aids. Like
Actually,
be a gladiator.
What's gonna happen is the fucking gym is gonna lift off like
into space.
Yeah, it's gonna turn into like a fucking
into the sun.
spaceship, and it's gonna leave.
Remember that woman via her man that wanted 70% of the climbers to just disappear? Well, there you go. Just shoot them into the sun.
Thanks, Rose.
Another celebrity called in.
Yo, my name's Jason, and I think it's just a bummer that the show, The Climb, went off the air one season. Man, we need some more. I think they could have done a lot more with that show, bro. There was a couple of boulders in that show that I wanted to see more of the boulders. I thought it's pretty good.
Yeah, Jason's just a boulder at heart. It's awesome.
My buddy, his name's Chris.
A badass.
Yeah, we've been bros for a long time, dude. It's just a lot. What? Pick out here on that show. I think they need to bring it back.
I've always wanted to have Momoa on the show. I literally troll him on the on Instagram. I just occasionally post on there like, dude, if you're a climber, you got to come on the Enormocast.
Well, we can't taps the climb.
But anyway, so there you go. Momoa, check. All right, one more.
I mean, that complements the Sharma show perfectly.
Right.
Hello, friends. My name is Steven, and I think something that's going away in climbing media is really gratitude. We don't get to know what people are grateful for enough, and I think it's going away, and I think it's a bit sad, and I think the least you can do is include these kinds of things in the show notes of your life.
Yes, Steven!
Okay. One more and then we're out. Thanks everybody for listening to the entire, if you've made it this far, the entire 2024 Taps episode.
Yeehaw!
So let's finish on this one.
What's up, Enormocast? This is Ty, and my beef is all of these goddamn climbing podcasts. There's only one climbing podcast that we need, it's Enormocast, and I guess the runout's fine too. So thanks for the good work. Keep it up.
Hear, hear.
Sick.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, let's taps all the other podcasts in climbing. I didn't even know there were other climbing podcasts.
There
actually.
you have it.
Hey, Enormocast. This is Becca, and my taps, my beef is just against mansplaining or beta spraying, spray lords. Would you all just stop?